We said we can make it 2:30.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today's April 17, 2025. I'll call the planning board meeting to order. The time is 1:05. We are joined by Vice Chair Bailey. We have Commissioner Washington.
Good morning, afternoon.
Nice try. Commissioner Giraldo.
Good afternoon.
And I'm Chair Shapiro. Please note, as you have heard me say before, that the deadline for all participant pre-registration and for all submission of materials and exhibits was 12 noon on the Tuesday before this planning board meeting. Registered speakers can join the meeting with a link provided in the email. Anyone can call in, can watch us via live stream. And if you wish to speak or become a person of record, you'll see the process laid out on the screen before you. Go to our website. There's an online web form. In addition to the commissioners, we're joined by our principal counsel, Mr. Warner. Good afternoon. And we have our planning board administrator, Jessica Jones. Joe Parsons is our senior technical hearing writer. Sherry Connors, the acting development review chief. And we have a bunch of folks helping with technology behind the scenes quite ably. Thanks as always. We'll move on to the cases. We're going to take the order of cases in the order that they're listed on the agenda. We will start with item 2 on our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the draft?
Motion to approve draft minute.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Bailey, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. With no discussion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner, Vice Chair Bailey.
Aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Commissioner
I
Washington.
vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. We'll now move on to Parks and Rec items. We've got 3 of them, I believe. We will start with Lake Arbor Park Master Plan. We have Mary Jo Kister giving a staff presentation. And you can introduce other members of your team as appropriate. And we will turn it over to you. The floor is yours. Once you settle in, take your time.
Good afternoon. For the record, I'm Dominic Wachbrocki. I'm a supervisor in park planning and environmental stewardship. It's great to be here in person with the board, Chair Shapiro, commissioners. Introduce a few people. Mary Jo Kister will be presenting the Lake Arbor Master Plan. It's an exciting plan, a property that we acquired about 2 years ago. From where we're sitting, it's just under 2 miles from us. So hopefully the commissioners will be making use of this park in the very near future. In addition to Mary Jo Kister, other members from Park Planning and Environmental Stewardship in the audience are Division Chief Sonia Ewing, Assistant Division Chief Jamaica Smith is in the audience. Hi, Jamaica. Myself, I'm Dominic Wachbrocki, Carrie Wickstead, our vegetation ecologist, and Paul Sun, who will also be presenting in a few minutes. I realize we're under a bit of a time constraint, so we'll move quickly through this. I will turn this over to Mary Jo Kister to present the Lake Arbor Master Plan, which was recently completed. Again, we acquired this 130-acre property about 2 years ago, former golf course, and you're going to hear about a combination of recreational amenities that we're going to be pursuing and rewilding initiatives to provide afforestation, reforestation efforts, meadows to add to our existing Stream Valley Park system that's directly adjacent to Lake Arbor. With that, I'll turn it over to Mary Jo.
Thank you, Dom. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Mary Jo Kister, environmental planner with Park Planning Environmental Stewardship. And I'm happy to be here today to present this exciting plan that we've been working on. Next slide, please. So this is a former golf course that has been reimagined. Next slide. As Dom mentioned, the property is 127 acres. It was a former privately owned golf course. It is outlined in the orange on that slide you see before you. And it's located northeast of the intersection of Landover Road and Central Avenue, not too far from here. It does border our Western Branch Stream Valley Park, and it's nearby the Lake Arbor Foundation, if you're familiar with that community and their amenities. It's also close by. It's north of the Watkins Regional Park and south of the Enterprise Golf Course. Next slide. So around the world, there's been a trend to rewild abandoned golf courses, and it's an opportunity to rescue these properties. And it's a unique opportunity because they present an open canvas, given a golf course is kind of an open in nature. And it's an opportunity to restore nature, enhance biodiversity, address some environmental challenges, and also provide access for the public. One nearby that you may or may not be familiar with in Montgomery County is the city of Rockville did a similar master plan for a similarly sized property. It was the Redgate golf course that is now Redgate Park, and it's designed as a passive park, and it's currently being implemented. Next slide. The golf course was built in the 70s, the residential communities around it in the 80s, and the golf course closed in 2009, and we acquired it in 2022. Next slide, sorry. With the acquisition, we inherited some issues. There was a lot of dumping that occurred. Some of the golf cart bridges were in really bad shape. And some of the infrastructure related to the golf course ponds were failing and creating sinkholes. So our other divisions have been working to kind of make this a safe place because people continue to use the golf cart paths for walking and cycling. Next slide. I'm just going to point out the photo on the bottom right. That gives you a sense of that's one of the sinkholes that's forming. And as we fill one, another one forms. So that's a major issue that we're addressing. Next slide, please. We've been working, the department's been working with addressing some of these issues. The photo on the top right identifies the 4 golf cart bridges that have all been removed because they were all hazardous. The one highlighted in yellow has been replaced, and you'll see the photo on the bottom right. That's the new bridge. The trail design for the new park will require one more bridge that will be installed to provide that connectivity. Next slide. The property consists of maintained lawn, which was had been neglected. So the community has been pleased that we have a mowing contractor in place to kind of keep this in a more kept condition. Next slide. So the master plan effort, we hired a consultant that was led a team. Mahan Reichel Associates was awarded the contract, and they had a team that included engineering, environmental support, as well as some financial aspects. And we started off with a kickoff meeting with the community. We held several community meetings. I'll talk about that some more. And with our, at the end of this 2024 is where we kind of finished that effort up. Next slide. The whole goal of this project has been to provide a balance of recreation and conservation. We really wanted to have some active and passive amenities for the park. We wanted to restore some of the environmental features. And in doing so, engage the community and get their thoughts and even provide some education there. With the goal of providing a safe and sustainable amenities in natural areas, while also looking to minimize the maintenance costs associated with it. Next slide, sorry. For the community engagement, we held several in-person meetings. Lake Arbor Foundation was gracious enough to offer their community room to us. Those meetings also included a virtual option, so we could try to get as many folks as possible engaged. In those meetings, we had a lot of different ways people could provide input. Some folks like to stand up and express their thoughts. Other people we had activity boards where people could just put stickers on things that they like. We had an online survey and a web page, really trying to give different avenues for folks to be involved. Next slide. And again, the vision of this was to kind of restore some of the environmental features, provide folks access to those amenities, make the trail network work for a park, not a golf course, and connect to the greater regional trail system, and provide some active use recreation, which I'll go into on next slide. For that habitat restoration, we're looking at creating 17 acres of meadow, about 54 acres of forest, an acre and a half of wetland, and we have an opportunity to naturalize or daylight a currently piped section of the stream out there and provide that habitat, which will be really nice. Next slide. As I mentioned, we've got about 55 acres of forest planting proposed, and this will result in a cost savings because it's currently being mowed, and there will be a little less maintenance involved, or a lot less maintenance involved with maintaining the forest. And as part of that effort, we're hoping to engage the community in some tree planting and tree walks, you know, to get them involved and take some ownership of this park. Next slide. Our trails team worked diligently, and I really appreciate all the time and effort they gave to this to really think about the trail system. We want to provide a variety of experiences, so there will be 3 miles of shared use paved paths that will connect to the larger regional trail system and have that potential. In addition, we're going to have, if you look at the photo on the bottom left, that gives you an idea what that will look like, some mowed meadow trails. So these are opportunities for people to veer off the paved path and have that experience through the meadow, and then it reconnects to the paved path. So you make a choice at that point. We're also proposing some natural surface trail that's adjacent to the Western Branch Stream Valley Park, and will connect to some other natural surface trails. Next slide. This is a list of the active use areas that we're proposing. Next slide. I'll go into those more. This is a rendering of that. If you look to the very far left, Golf Course Drive is the entrance to the park, and you kind of drive through the Lake Arbor Foundation property where the swimming pool and basketball and tennis courts and their parking lot is, and their community building, and you get into our park where you see the new parking lots. And if you go to the next slide, please. This has some labels for you to see. We're proposing community gardens, a nature-based playground, some fitness stations with a loop trail around them that also connects to the greater trail network in the park. There's a beginner 9-hole disc golf course. We have a practice putting area. And then we have things to support that, such as a comfort station, the parking lots, and a maintenance yard sort of tucked in the back on the left of the screen. Next slide. In terms of implementation, as I mentioned, there's some safety issues that we've been addressing as we've moved along. We have recently, with our engineering folks in the department, working to get a contractor to correct the infrastructure that's failing associated with the ponds and creating the sinkholes. So that should be happening soon. We have applied for a grant for the first phase of the tree planting with our partners, Casey Trees, which would be about 15 acres of forest. And then we also want to look at installing the second bridge for the trail network and looking at getting our trail system implemented, which will involve removal of some trails and installation of others. Next slide. So I mentioned we applied for the tree grant that we're hoping to be awarded, and that would really help us get the forest planting going, looking at the pond infrastructure, and then based on funding and as we prioritize and communicate more with the community and other staff, hopefully start implementing some of the other aspects of this plan. And finally, I just want to thank the staff in the department was extremely helpful in participating and providing their input and feedback. And the community was phenomenal. They were just so welcoming to us and supported. They provided a letter of support for the grant for the tree planting. So really appreciate all of that, the support we got from the community and staff on this. And with that, next slide. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Let me just say, impressive work.
Yes.
It's a lot of it.
Really nice. Colleagues, any questions?
Just one. Now, if you're going to put a rec area for children, is that planned?
There's a nature-based playground that's proposed.
Right.
And we also have some open and flexible green space for just, play.
Right. So for the nature based playground, if you could take in account for the children that are physically challenged.
Yes, and I should have mentioned that we have talked about that. We want to make sure, even like the community gardens, I don't know if you noticed, I should have pointed out in the photos where not everybody can get down on their knees and, I'm getting there. It's nice to have something where you can, have a raised garden bed. And we've talked about that for the fitness stations, the playgrounds. So yes, we are
Thank
conscious
you.
of that. I appreciate you mentioning it.
Great job.
He also wants to know about the dog parks.
I knew my fellow,
him, but he didn't do it.
nope, I knew my fellow commissioner was going to bring it up.
No dog park?
There is no dog. Time.
Well,
All
what
right,
about-
meeting adjourned.
We do have open green space and play areas that we kind of did that on purpose to provide those areas for just pick up play or yoga in the park or people sitting areas with shade to overlook the ponds. But there is the possibility to turn those into something later should there be a desire to do that. So we kind of left that.
And there were
Dog waste stations.
Yes, they will be along the trails. Yes.
Okay, there we go.
there were community members that did ask for a dog park. That is something that we can look at as well. There
Mhm.
is space for that possibility.
Great job. Thank you.
This is
The ta-
good. Great work. Great work.
Really nice.
Terrific, yeah.
How long has this planning and community engagement process been going on? Again, I remember the timeline you showed, but I don't remember what it said.
Yeah, when the property was acquired, which is before I came over to the Prince George's side of the commission, there was a meeting held, and I think that was during COVID, to let the community know that we now own the property because it was really left in a bad state. Nobody was taking care of it. And they were very happy about that. And we will let them know we were going to be having this master plan effort. And then we had our first kickoff meeting in February of 2024.
Okay.
We had several meetings with the community.
Okay.
So, and kind of wrapped that up in, I think, November. And then the plan, the document itself, we have some very minor edits to do before we can actually publish it. So it's been kind of ongoing in full force since about February of last year.
Yeah,
A
it's
lot of good work.
really, really nice work.
Great
I
work.
appreciate the community engagement and, with the big lapse of not having a dog park, it feels, other than that, it feels like the perfect. So,
I have a dog. I love dogs. I'm with you.
Me as well.
you could tell the community that the planning board has a slightly different version of it and see if they get excited about that as well. But seriously, I mean, it's wonderful work. It looks like an amazing amenity for the county and for the community. So nice job.
Thank you.
This is an action item, colleagues. What is your pleasure on this? Wait, it's not an action item.
Informational.
And that is it's informational.
Okay, just informational. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to item 3D. This is a grant of easements to Prince George's County for Paint Branch Stream Restoration, Mr. Sun. This is an action item and we will turn it over to you.
Good morning, Chair Shapiro, members of the planning board. For the record, my name is Paul Sun, Land Acquisition Specialist, Department of Parks and Recreation. Our team is joined with Krista Manival, our legal counsel, and Matt Tippett, who is our engineer for the department. They're virtually, so they're participating and have comments if necessary.
They're on you.
Like I said, we're here today to request approval for the grant of easements on park property that was used for the Paint Branch Stream Restoration Project. This is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project in conjunction with the Prince George's County Department of Environment. Restoration of Paint Branch Stream is key to improving water quality in Prince George's County and ultimately the Chesapeake Bay. Next slide, please. Next, one more slide. The focus of the project area is along the western side of Baltimore Avenue, US Route 1, roughly from University Boulevard southwards towards Campus Drive. And I'll go into greater details of each section. Next slide, please. The first section is from University Boulevard to Metzerott Road and contained within our Acredale Park. The easement area proposed is 2.54 acres along the stream area. Note that there is an access easement connecting to Metzerat Road for future inspection and maintenance purposes. Next slide. The second section is on Metzerat Road southward behind the developed parcel along US Route 1 and contains a Paint Branch Stream Valley Park. The easement proposed is 3.66 acres. And again, note that there's a access easement that connects to Metzerat Road. Next slide, please. The last section is from Metzerat Road southward behind, the last section is the Paint Branch Stream as it approaches Northgate Urban Park. Roughly 1 acre of the channel improvement easement is needed. Next slide. In summary, the Paint Branch Stream Restoration Project nears completion. These easements will not only define the limits of the stream restoration, but also define the area for maintenance and inspection purposes. We note that there are no cost considerations for these easements, as it will be granted to Prince George's County, and this project is for public benefit. In conclusion, DPR staff recommends to the Planning Board approval of these grant of easements to Prince George's County, consisting of 7.3 acres of channel improvement easements across 7 MNCPPC parcels, 0.12 acres of access easements across 2 MNCPPC parcels. And please note that the final approval of these easements will be subject to the full commission's approval. This concludes staff's presentation. Our team is available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Sun. Colleagues, any questions for staff on this item? No questions. Thank you very much. And what is your pleasure on the item?
Move approval of the grant easements to Prince George's County for Paint Branch Stream Restoration.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo. No discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
But aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Sun. We'll now move on to item 3E, Parks and Rec, another Parks and Rec item. This is some proposed revisions to the individual naming rights policy, both commemorative and philanthropic. We have Ms. Wright and Ms. Manival who will be giving the presentation. And colleagues, this was at my direction. I asked staff to come back to us with a slightly more flexible version of the policy. And let's hear what they've come to us with.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Board. And for the record, my name is Tracy Wright. I am the Resource Development Officer, Resource Development Unit of Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation. By the way of background, a little over a year ago on March 21st, 2024, the Planning Board adopted the Individual Commemorative and Philanthropic Naming Rights Policy. Over the past year, the board has had the opportunity to apply the policy to real life situations and consider whether it wants to make any adjustments. The Planning Board communicated to staff the desire to tweak 2 aspects of the policy, and they are, number 1, the Individual Commemorative and Philanthropic Naming Rights Policy that you adopted on March 21st, 2024, states at page 2, that parks themselves are not eligible for commemorative naming or philanthropic naming. Recently, the chair directed staff to return to the board and with a proposal to amend the policy to remove this prohibition as commemorative naming and philanthropic naming. Staff reviewed the policy and thinks that the board's desire could be effectuated by deleting the following sentence. Parks themselves are not eligible for commemorative naming or philanthropic naming. Number 2, the chair also directed staff to return to the board with a proposal to amend the policy as to commemorative naming only, not as to philanthropic naming, to remove the requirement that an individual established and maintained an exceptional level of support for the park, asset, park system, or related trails in open space in Prince George's County. Staff reviewed the policy and thinks that the board's desire could be effectuated by deleting paragraph 4.3b and its accompanying footnote. Staff recommends that the board discuss these proposed amendments and, if desired, amend the policy. This could be done if a member of the planning board makes a motion to delete the sentence, "Parks themselves are not eligible for commemorative naming or philanthropic naming," and delete paragraph 4.3b. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Ms. Manival, anything you want to add at this point, or you're just available for questions? Questions? So colleagues, the idea, I think that what staff came to us with was a very, very strong set of guidelines. And for all sorts of reasons, it felt like it was a little bit too restrictive for us. You know, naming things after individuals, commemorative naming can be a complicated process. And we want a broad range of guidelines around it, but I don't think we want to be precluded from doing it. And so I think that's the idea. My concern about the other approach was it actually took away our authority in ways that didn't feel helpful. So if that's all right with you, you may have questions or concerns around that. I'm certainly open to discuss it, but staff has some minor tweaks that would give us that extra little bit of flexibility.
So that would give us, the board, the right, okay.
Yes, it would give us, the board, that extra little bit of flexibility.
Good.
Okay? No concerns, no questions. Staff, thank you very much. And the motion would be to approve staff's recommended changes.
I move that we adopt staff's recommendation and accept the proposed revision to the individual commemorative and philanthropic naming policy as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo with no discussion. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you, Ms. Manival.
Thank you.
We will move on to item 4, our consent agenda items. Anyone from the public or any board member wishes to discuss any of the items of the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, for consideration of the record for item number 4A, I move adopting staff findings and approval of this item on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
And I will second with the addition of item 4D.
4D.
We've got a motion by Vice Chair Bailey, a second by Commissioner Washington. With no discussion, I will call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to our regular agenda items. Thanks, team. Parks and Rec team. Well done. First is item 5. This is an extension request for preliminary plan 4-22013 Spirit and Truth Tabernacle Church. We have Mr. Bartlett, who will be giving a brief staff presentation on the recommendation. We have representatives from the applicant in case there's any questions. Mr. Bartlett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Jason Bartlett with the subdivision section. Item number 5 on the agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-22013 titled Spirit and Truth Tabernacle Church. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the planning board on March 8th, 2023, and is valid through March 8th, 2025. By letter dated February 28th, 2025, the applicant requested a 1-year extension of the plan's approval. If this request is approved, the preliminary plan of subdivision will be valid through March 8th of 2026. Section 24-119 D5A of the prior subdivision regulations authorizes the planning board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of a preliminary plan of subdivision when certain criteria are met. Staff find that all criteria has been met and recommend that the planning board grant a 1-year extension for preliminary plan of subdivision 4-22013 pursuant to section 24-119 D5A Romanet 1 through 5 of the prior subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. Does anyone from the applicant's team have anything to add on this item? Seeing not, commissioners, any questions or concerns, or if none, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the one-year extension for preliminary plan 4-22013.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Vice Chair Bailey with no discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Did I miss something, James?
I thought Geraldo did the second.
I thought it was a tie, but we can go.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't hear me.
We have a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by Commissioner Giraldo. And with no discussion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Yes.
Now I'm in big trouble. Vice Chair Bailey.
I vote aye.
The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. Item 6 on our agenda is an extension request for preliminary plan 4-22034 Discovery District. We have again Mr. Bartlett. We also have Mr. Tao representing the applicant. If he has anything that he wants to add, this is a request for a 6-month extension. Mr. Bartlett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I am Jason Bartlett with the subdivision section. Item number 6 on the agenda is extension for preliminary plan subdivision 4-22034 titled Discovery District. This preliminary plan of subdivision was approved by the planning board on February 16th, 2023, and is valid through March 9th, 2025. By letter dated March 4, 2025, the applicant requested a 6-month extension of the plan's approval. If this request is approved, the preliminary plan of subdivision will be valid through September 9th of 2025. Section 24-119 D5A of the prior subdivision regulations authorizes a planning board to grant an extension to the normal expiration of a preliminary plan of subdivision when certain criteria are met. Staff find that all criteria has been met and recommend that the planning board grant a 6-month extension to preliminary plan of subdivision 4-22034 pursuant to section 24-119 D5A Romanet 1 through 5 of the prior subdivision regulations. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. If there's no questions for staff, Mr. Taub, anything you want to add? You're attending virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I want to thank Mr. Bartlett and the subdivision staff. We concur with the staff recommendation, simply here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Taub. Colleagues, if there's no further questions on this item, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 6-month extension for preliminary plan 4-22034.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a definite second by Vice Chair Bailey. If there's no discussion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner
I
Washington.
vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. And thank you, Mr. Taub. Next is item 7. We have 2 countywide planning division mandatory referrals. We'll take them up one at a time. Item 7 is mandatory referral MRF 2023-011 Hyattsville K-8 school. Mr. Parker is representing the applicant. Ms. Hennessy is going to give the staff presentation. We have some folks who are signed up to speak as well on this item. We will hear from staff, then we'll hear from the applicant, and then we'll go to the sign-up sheet. Staff first.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marion Hennessy. I'm acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I am here to present the staff report on MRF 2023-011 Hyattsville Elementary School. The application is one of 8 school replacement projects proposed with the second phase of the Prince George's County Public Schools Blueprint Schools program and takes an innovative approach to school construction, financing through a collaborative public-private partnership to meet the needs of the district. Next slide. Prince George's County Public Schools proposes raising the existing school, except for the original portion of the building constructed around 1935, and replacing the existing school with a new facility meeting Prince George's County Public School requirements. Next slide. The property is owned by Prince George's County Board of Ed and is the site of the current Hyattsville Elementary School. Next slide. The 2-acre site is located at 5311 43rd Avenue in Hyattsville. The property is within the residential single-family 65 zone. Next slide. Here is a view of the existing school site, which will be raised and a new school constructed. Next slide. The project is government project that proposes no woodland clearing. The site has an approved numbered letter of exemption from the 2024 Woodland and Wildlife Habitat Conservation Ordinance, which is valid until December 4th, 2029, and is exempt from the specimen tree regulations. Next slide. The subject property sits on the west side of US 1 and is located on the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Jefferson Street and 43rd Avenue. The development of the site does not propose any structures or changes within the existing right-of-way along Jefferson Street or 43rd Avenue. Next slide. Based on the plans submitted, the applicant has requested a mandatory referral for the review of the construction of a new elementary school with 650 students, retaining a portion of the existing building, rooftop playgrounds, a new on-site parking garage, and other on-site improvements. For perspective, the existing school has a population of 421 students. Next slide. The project was accepted on March 6, 2025. Notices were mailed to adjoining, confronting, and abutting property owners and area civic associations on March 14th, 2025. For this case, the applicant provided notice of and held a public meeting and a project presentation on October 17th, 2024 at the Hyattsville Town Hall. Next slide. The following permits are required for the project. Next slide. The 2-acre site will be occupied by the new elementary school building and a new 2-story parking garage, which will occupy the north portion of the site. The existing building, with the exception of a 50-foot by 30-foot portion located at the southwest corner of the site, is to be demolished and replaced with the new school. The rooftop of the building is designed with a playground, a basketball court, 2 outdoor classrooms with a shade structure, a garden with raised beds and seating areas. 2 playgrounds are located by the building entrances for students. There are 2 primary building entrances for parent drop-off and pickup. The entrance on the east side of the building is for pre-K and kindergarten students, and the entrance on the south side of the building is for elementary students. Sidewalks are provided along Jefferson Street and 43rd Avenue, and crosswalks are provided at the vehicular access points. The application proposes an on-site 2-story parking garage that will hold a total of 67 parking spaces with 3 ADA spaces and 4 spaces reserved for electric vehicles, facility support infrastructure, a loading area, 2 bicycle racks that hold approximately 30 bicycles. ADA access to the building is proposed from 43rd Avenue. The applicant noted that students will not be bused into the school site, so no bus lane is proposed. The project is exempt from the 2018 Prince George's County Landscape Manual requirements. A landscape plan was submitted with this application showing landscaping is provided within the street frontages of Jefferson Street and 43rd Avenue, and bioretention areas are incorporated throughout the site. Next slide. Staff recommendations are listed here. These include transportation concerns such as providing a copy of the final traffic impact study to both the Planning Department and the Maryland State Highway Administration. Next slide.
School.
The applicant is also encouraged to revise the landscape plan to include a tree canopy schedule and propose any additional landscaping as needed. Compliance with the tree canopy coverage ordinance needs to be demonstrated during the permit process. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. Before we hear from the applicant, colleagues, any questions for staff at this point?
Just a brief clarification, no busing, so that is considered a neighborhood school?
The applicant is here and can get into that in more detail, but that is my understanding.
Thank you.
Just one, I'm kind of concerned with the recreation area on the roof. So how will the children get up there?
There is stairs and also for the public. And the applicant is here and can go into
Okay.
questions.
Thank you. I was just thinking of a safety issue.
President, yeah. Yeah.
I can't get on the roof.
All right, no more questions. We'll turn to the applicant. Mr. Parker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I had to check and make sure it was that morning. This afternoon.
Is it the right date?
Yes, got the right date too. Yes, the day is the 17th. For the record, my name is Majette Parker. I'm an attorney practicing land use and zoning in Prince George's County since 1985. So we have for quite some over 10 years. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and we have a team that's assembled here today too to answer any questions. I want to thank staff for their thoroughness and their review and the recommendation. We've been in communication regularly. We also have in the audience the city planner for the city of Hyattsville today too, who's going to talk, don't need to talk, but if he does, very much in support of this replacement school, Hyattsville Elementary School. It says on the slide K through 8, but it's really elementary school. I know, minor, but that's okay. We all understand it, staff understands it, and the team understands this as well. But let me just introduce my team very quickly. And by the way, let me introduce the team first, okay? We have the owner, Prince George's County Public School System. We have Mr. Sean Matlock. Stand, please. He's going to address the question that was raised earlier. He can do that. We have the actually design builder, MCN Build. And by the way, we've been here before, as you know, virtually, but not in person. But I thought today would be a great time to come out because we've got 2 items on the agenda. Come out and meet with staff face to face and see the planning board face to face as well. We're just such a thrill to be able to do this again in person. What, 4 years?
4 years.
Being virtual. My just congratulations for all the things that we still continue to have business conducted during the time of virtual. A lot of attorneys have complimented Park and Planning Commission, the Maryland National Park and Planning Commission, for its efforts to keep the county moving forward. We have MCN Build, who is our design build leader, and with them is Taylor Powell. If he's in the audience, he can stand up, Taylor. Okay. See ya? Yes. So we have Mr. Powell Graves. Yes, there he is. Okay, great. From the architectural team, and by the way, it takes a team to build a school. I'm just amazed. I'm going to give you only a few that came, but we've got a lot of people involved in this effort. But from the architectural, Jack Chin from Perkins Eastman Architects. He's sitting back there. MCN Build. We have our traffic engineer, Carl Wilson from traffic. Yeah, there he is right there. We have our landscape architect, Miss Connie Fan. There we go, right there. And let's see, who am I missing? If I'm missing anyone with our team, please stand up. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so anyway, we brought him here today because we're just so excited to be able to bring these 2 schools at one time to you. It's the Hyattsville beginning with, and the next one, next agenda item number 8 is the Brandywine. The school is needed to be replaced. Been built back in the 30s, just shy of 100 years. So we're excited about moving forward with this. We appreciate the staff's comments and recommendations. Incorporate as much as we can in there. We have a city planner from Hyattsville here as well, Mr. Jeffrey Listens. There he is. He just waved his head. Okay. And we've been working closely with the city of Hyattsville. We've had a number of outreach meetings, and we will continue to do that through an effort of advising the public as things progress. So with that, I will just say thank you very much. We look forward to receiving the staff recommendations in writing so we can proceed through the permitting agencies to get this school built for the students that Prince George's County. And this school is over 650 students will be coming to this school. We need to deliver this to them as quickly as possible. We want to thank your staff and thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Yeah, and thanks to your team as well. We may have questions for you and the team. We'll hear from folks in the public, and we may have questions for you again based on what we hear from the public. But start with any questions for the applicant or any other members of the team.
So I have one question. Having come from the Northeast and seen schools built, schools that are over 200 years old and they retrofit them and they look brand new. Was there any consideration, if you know, to just, instead of building something from the ground up, just retrofit?
Very good question, and I am not familiar with that, but I'm going to turn over to Sean Malcolm for Prince George's County Public Schools. This is very briefly to answer that. Thank you.
So, Mr. Matlock, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here, and I'm glad to see you in person and appreciate all your leadership over all these years.
Chair Shapiro, I appreciate y'all having me, and I appreciate y'all consideration for this project. To be quick, these buildings are in a state that we could not rebuild them. The ones, a couple of the ones that have gone through mandatory referral already, we pointed out, or may go through, or point out, are replacements for schools that are structurally unsound. And what we have is, in order to rebuild a school like this, it was a significant decision. And so we're only replacing schools when we have to. There are about 13 schools on the list of the EFMP, the Educational Facilities Master Plan, that are scheduled for renovation as opposed to replacement because they have good bones and they can be upgraded rather than rebuilt. The ones that are not are the ones that we're bringing forward for new construction. They have significant system failures, issues that have gone on, mold, water infiltration. They have to be replaced.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mallon. Appreciate you.
I look forward to your
Other questions? No, okay, we're good for now. So we have a few folks who signed up to speak. I think most of them are virtual. Is it Ulysses or Ulysses? Mr. Ulysses. Feel free to come forward if you have something to say, or you can be available for questions either way, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair Shapiro, members of the board. My name is Jeff Ulysses. I'm the Acting Director of Economic Development for the City of Hyattsville. On behalf of the Hyattsville City Council, I want to express strong support for this development project. This project represents a critical investment in our educational infrastructure and will serve the growing needs of our community and well into the future. While the city is enthusiastic about the project, its long-term benefits, the city also recognizes the importance of proactively addressing potential transportation and traffic impacts during the construction phase, not just at the construction site, but also as it relates to swing space at St. Mark's School along Adelphi Road. Mitigating disruptions along Adelphi Road, ensuring pedestrian safety and vehicular safety, and maintaining neighborhood accessibility must be a shared priority for this project as it moves forward. To support effective coordination, the City of Hyattsville requests that when the Community Engagement Committee is formed for this project, that the City of Hyattsville is included in those deliberations. So inclusion of city government representatives will help ensure all relevant municipal departments, such as our public works, planning, and public safety departments, are fully informed and engaged throughout the development process. Establishing a formal channel for communication and collaboration will be essential for the advancement of this project in a manner that reflects the needs and concerns of the broader community. Furthermore, we request that as a part of the approval process, the proposed development project, the planning board encourage the developer to incorporate specific measures aimed at mitigating the spread and displacement of rodents during the construction phase. Mitigation efforts is important for public health and neighborhood concern, and proactive management such as pre-construction abatement and on-site control measures can significantly reduce the negative impacts on surrounding properties. Additionally, we urge the project team and developers to take an intentional approach to preserving any and all existing artistic features that are specifically unique to the school. These features hold cultural, historical, and community value, a tremendous amount of community value, and efforts to thoroughly retain, restore, and integrate them into the new school would contribute to a more meaningful connection between the site's past and future. So on behalf of the City of Hyattsville, I want to thank the Planning Board, planning staff, Mr. Matlock and his team, on a amazing project, and we look forward to this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I do want to make one more note. We do understand that some of these requests are outside the purview of the planning board. However, City Council wanted to ensure that this was on the record for future review.
Thank you. Mr. Matlock or Mr. Parker, if you've noted their specific things, and at some point, if you can address those as well. I mean, now, if you want to.
So initially, this was something that came up when I addressed the city council last week. It was something that we talked about internally. We will have a lot of coordination between us and the community. There's a project planning committee, which will involve the community. We're going to invite someone from the city to be on that committee. And that's the one where we try to get as much local input from the community and the faculty and the staff of the school. In addition, we have talked with our environmental team for the school system, Mr. Alex Baylor, who heads that up. We have a plan to address the rodents as soon as the students are out of the building. We're going to do some things to start dealing with the rodent population that might be underneath the building. And then once we start destroying or demolishing the building or raising the building itself, we will be setting out a series of traps, traps in order to capture anybody that's still left. So, and we also talked about dust reduction and also vandalism and avoiding any kind of securing the site so that nobody wanders onto it and things like that. It will be a monitored site as well. So we're listening to a lot of the community considerations. There's also another school nearby. And we're going to be trying to pay attention so that we coordinate so that traffic is addressed for them as well.
Great.
Mr. Matlock, just a few questions, actually, if I can keep you there. One is, when you were talking about the parking earlier, was there any conversation with the city of Hyattsville or any, how did you not come to more of a shared parking approach? Because there's a big parking lot next door and there's a need in the rest of the sort of the core of downtown Hyattsville. I'm just curious about how you landed where you landed.
So one of the problems that we've had so far, and one of the complaints from faculty and staff, is there wasn't sufficient parking on the site for the staff itself. So when we designed this building, it was designed to basically capture the staff and faculty parking as best we could, so that we could get everybody that has to be in the building, and also have some spots for parents to come in and utilize when they have the meetings and things like that there. The site is very small. And so we were trying to address that. Plus, we have to keep it secure. So that area, we can't have everybody coming on and off the school site because we have children there. Mm-hmm. Where the parking is now is going to be very near where our youngest children are. So they're all of our younger children are going to be on the first floor, pre-K and kindergarten students. So we're going to try, we did what we could to address the faculty issue first, mm-hmm. and the staff issue. And that's how the solution. We've tried to keep everything as compact as possible.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. One more. When you go through the demolition project, has there been any thought put to building material reuse as the demolition occurs? And I'm thinking specifically, there are organizations that do wonderful work with this. One of the premier ones on the East Coast, is actually right there in Hyattsville, Edmonton area, Community Forklift. And I'm wondering if there's been any conversations around that we might be able to take advantage of to help put less of this into the waste stream.
I understand. I'm unaware of the plan related to demolition and raise as far as that's concerned. There is a degree that's required where we, there's certain products that have to be abated and disposed of in an environmentally friendly way. But we do have our MC and our project manager here. They may have, I don't know if you have any more information on that, but yeah, I'll let them.
Thank you, Mr.
Parker.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Board. I'm Taylor Powell with Emerson Build. We have a full lead plan for demo and abatement. Materials within the building that are hazardous will be properly disposed of. And then we also use for recycled materials from the demo will be recycled. Different products, steel, concrete, other waste they get separated by our demo companies and recycled as much as we possibly can. That's a portion of the LEED Platinum that we're going to achieve. We have to recycle those. And then, like as Mr. Motlock said, a portion of the building is going to remain, so that will stay completely. Beyond that, there's county requirements do not allow us to use a lot of the crushed building as backfill. It's not allowed so we'll be reusing as much as we can, but past that, it'll be new materials.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, if there are no other questions at this point, let's turn to folks in the sign-up sheet. I've got 4 folks who signed up virtually. Let me just check to see who's here first. Is there Daniel Broder here on the line? Do we have Greg Smith on the line? Mr. Smith? Is there Lucia Proctor? And a Matthew Barr. Staff, let's make sure there's not a technical issue if none of the 4 of them are here.
Mr. Smith is showing on the line for.
Lucia, she just showed up. Her hand is raised. Lucia Proctor.
Huh. What am I not seeing?
I don't see that.
There's an email.
Popped up on my screen.
Ms. Proctor submitted an email.
No, but on the screen.
She just raised her hand.
Did?
Yep.
Let's see.
Her hand is.
Proctor, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Oh, I wasn't speaking yet. I can hear you.
That's what we did.
Oh, you were teasing me. Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair.
Proctor, yes. Ms. Proctor, I see you. Do we have Mr. Smith as well?
Greg
Yes.
Smith,
Yes,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. And now how about Mr.
Great.
Broder? Or Mr. Barr? Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Smith and Ms. Proctor. I'll give each of you up to 3 minutes to speak. If you could introduce yourself, name and address for the record. And again, we'll start with Mr. Smith. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Greg Smith, 4204 Farragut Street, Hyattsville. I live just a couple of blocks from this elementary school site. I understand the staff, the planning, the school staff and the community were all working with a tightly constrained site. This wasn't absolutely necessary. There was a good site just a couple blocks away, 3.6 acres next to a park. We know that site. The project should not have gone forward, but unfortunately, due to a lack of planning consideration, we're stuck with this site. My primary concern at this point, the only one that could be addressed, if at all, is the fact that this school is going to have essentially no green space around it, and the kids will have a playground on top of the roof in an area that's already part of an urban heat island. That's an issue I've raised before. Some of you have expressed some responsive concern. My understanding is probably going to be an artificial turf field on top of a school building in an urban heat island. That could be a very hot surface, and the ambient air temperatures could be very high. And somebody at some point should explain how the kids and the staff are going to be kept safe in that situation, or whether they'll face a situation where on even moderately hot days, the temperatures could be too high, especially at the head level of kids and staff, for them to be able to play safely on that roof. This is the direction we're heading in with climate change. We've already been documenting higher temperatures in our region and in our county. And I hope that due consideration is given to this issue. This did not have to happen, that we're rebuilding on this constrained site where they struggle to find parking, and there already was no green space. On the current site, the kids play on blacktop. It's not the worst situation in the world. Kids in other communities face much worse, but we could have done much better here if we had preserved another site nearby next to a park, much cooler setting, much more open space where the kids could recreate and learn from the natural features in that park. It could have been a model school with a living classroom right outside of it, and instead this is what we have. So constructively, somebody needs to address what the temperatures might be on that rooftop. On larger AstroTurf fields, the temperatures can be 130, 140 degrees. All right, thanks very much. That's all I have to add right now.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I appreciate that. Let me ask for responses as we get some of these questions from Mr. Matlock, you, the team, maybe MCM, because Commissioner Giraldo asked about a similar issue around safety. I was thinking of it more around, to be blunt, people falling off the roof. I was not thinking of it so much around the temperature, but I imagine there's a technical issue that you can provide for us around that.
Oh, the kindergarten areas will have grass. They will be enclosed play areas, but they will have grass, and there will not be AstroTurf on the roof. There'll be other surfaces. I'm not quite sure the nature. Objective. Okay. Jim.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your comments and questions. First and foremost, we understand.
You're with Perkins Eastman, correct? Okay. Thank you.
We understand the concerns and the questions, and we're cognizant of it. The roof will be built of a light material. So we understand as part of the lease process that MCN, our partners, talked about. We are looking at using light materials. As Mr. Matlock said, we're not looking at using AstroTurf. We have as the staff explained, we do have a basketball court and a play area there. So the basketball court will be fully enclosed, including a netting. So when the kids are playing with the ball is fully contained. The roof itself will have a tall fence that is offset from the edge of the roof, so it's not against it. It is approximately 6 feet away from it, and then you'll have a tall fence above it. And as staff said, we'll have canopy structures up there providing shade, and also plantings up there. The raised planters will also provide greenery up at the roof.
Thank you. A question about the design of the fence, because I imagine it's actually going to be a pretty visible feature because that's on a hill. You'll see it coming up and down the street. How are you planning on designing the fence?
The basketball court is located on the southeast side of it. So it is the furthest away from Jefferson and 43rd. And it is offset, like we talked about, from the edge of the building. And it's going to be tall, like I think it's 18 feet, and then plus the netting. I think we haven't figured out exactly the material or the color of it. We're hoping that when you look up, they'll just die away. So we haven't figured out exactly what it is, but we're cognizant of the views from the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, what's the fencing around the rest of the roof?
So the entire roof is not fully occupied, only a portion of it. So only the portion of the roof, which is the portion, I don't know if we have the roof plan up, but it is the portion that is away from the streets that is the occupied. The other portions of it are not occupied.
Okay, so when the children go up to get to the roof, will they go into the enclosed portion of the?
They will get into the portion that is occupiable. So there'll likely be circulation, so pathways leading from either the basketball court or the outdoor play areas or the outdoor classrooms, which are offset from the edge of the building perimeter. And of course, what we talked about, the fences.
Okay.
Tall fence and the netting is only over the basketball court. And operationally, the school will make sure that the balls stay into that enclosed area and not get outside of that.
So there's no safety issue with respect to the rest of the roof?
No, because they're not accessible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very common in New York City.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, this is an urban school. We're not going 7-8 stories here. But it is very common and not unusual.
Thank you. Thank you, Shin. All right, well, next we'll go to Ms. Lucia Proctor.
Yeah, right.
If you could introduce yourself, name and address to the record, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My address is 4150 Parkwood Court in Cottage City, Maryland. My name is Lucia Proctor, and I am both a parent of a first grade student and also a teacher at Hyattsville Elementary School. I'd like to express my strong support for the permit application concerning the demolition and the construction activities related to the rebuilding of our beloved school. So the work being done within the walls of HES is commendable and reflects the dedication of our community. And it was a significant factor in our decision to enroll my own son in this school. Our community is visibly and vocally invested in our children's education, and the staff shares this commitment wholeheartedly. Every day, our students come to school ready to meet those high expectations, and they are rising to those challenges. However, the current building is hindering our common goal. There are several issues that need to be addressed, and I want to just highlight a couple of those, for example, to serve for clarity. We are facing a critical lack of space that is exacerbated by our growing population and facilities that have suffered from decades of wear and tear. For instance, students do lack a green space to engage and play during recess, which is essential for their development. Additionally, overcrowded classrooms create strain on teachers and students alike. It is very challenging to provide effective instruction when rooms are filled with overcrowded tables, limiting maneuverability and causing discomfort. In my own classroom, I have years-old whiteboards that were installed by a previous teacher, and they are nearing the end of their usability, and they make it extremely difficult for my students to see clearly. Parking presents another challenge, often forcing staff to weigh the inconvenience of double parking against the risk of tickets or being towed. Students frequently voice concerns about the crumbling stairs in our narrow stairwells, and the lack of outlets in every classroom further adds to the challenges we face in delivering quality education. I urge you to support the permit application so that we can move forward with building this very badly needed new school. Our community and our children deserve a safe, modern, and welcoming learning environment. Thank you.
Ms. Proctor, thank you. Thanks for your support. You're going to get a parking space out of this too, is that correct?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so.
Thank you, Ms. Proctor. Thanks for all you do.
Like you.
We have no one else who signed up to speak unless we have Mr. Broder or Ms. Barr.
Sorry, Mr. Broder is on the line. He's the 202 number and unmute.
Mr. Broder, Daniel Broder, if you can introduce yourself for the record, name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak, and the floor is yours. We're glad you're here.
There's might be a slight delay, but 202 number.
Mr. Broder, are you on the line? You see him?
You do see him?
Mr. Broder, we can't hear you. It's a simple thing, but is it perhaps your mic is muted in a way you're not aware of?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Our team had to mute him, but they're in a process of unmuting him now. He's the 202 number.
Yeah, he's still muted. He has to unmute on his own. They're saying he has to.
He has to.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to hold this because I want to make sure that we hear from Mr. Broder if he's waiting. Folks, we're under a bit of a time crunch, so you may or may not have Mr. Parker, for you and your team, I feel for you about what I'm about to say, but we're going to take a break. I'm going to try to have I think we can start the break in about 7 minutes, but that break is going to go for 45 minutes. So we don't need to take action on this because you'll be coming back for the next case. I don't know how long the next case we will be talking about. I'm not sure how much detail you're going to be going into or you and your team need to be going into. I don't believe we have any. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on that case?
We need none.
Dean? For the next MRF, the Brandywine one.
Yeah, yes, it's the same, actually the same folks signed up to,
Okay. No, but in opposition or outside of the applicant's team, rather.
no one on Friday.
Okay.
No one signed up to.
No one signed up.
Okay, so there's a chance that I want to give the case and all the work the respect that it's due. So I say we start it, and then we can come back to this case to take action on this. Okay, all right. So let's pause this. We're going to go on to the next case. Item. Yes.
We have Mr. Broder on the line. He actually is having technical difficulty, but he said that he has submitted his materials and he's fine with passing on speaking.
Okay, all right. So we don't need to hear from Mr. Broder. So with that, colleagues, any other questions for staff or the applicant on this case? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the recommendations of staff and approve the transmission of MRF 2023 011 to the applicant.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Washington. It is unclear who did the second.
Vice Chair.
All right, Vice Chair Bailey, ladies first. With no discussion, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. So let's take up item 8. I'm going to ask you, Ms. Hennessy, to be very brief on this.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marion Hennessy, Acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I'm here to provide a staff report on MRF 2023-008 Brandywine K-8 school. Again, this is one of the applications of the this school is part of the Prince George's County Public Schools Blueprint Schools program, where the construction funding is through the public-private partnership to meet the needs of the district. Next slide. The Prince George's County Public Schools proposes to construct a new K-8 building. The proposed new school will replace the existing Baden and Brandywine Elementary Schools and Gwen Park Middle School. The project will be divided into 2 phases to allow the school to operate with minimum disruption throughout the construction of the new school. The applicant expects to apply for necessary permits as the construction plans are developed. Next slide. This current site is the Gwen Park Middle School as shown on this slide. Next slide. The 19.97 acre property is located at 8,000 Dyson's Road. The property is zoned residential rural. Next slide. Here is a picture of the existing school site. Next slide. The project is a government project that proposes no woodland clearing. The site has an approved numbered letter of exemption from the 2024 Woodland and Wildlife Habitat Conservation Ordinance, which is valid until February 3rd, 2030. The project is exempt from specimen tree regulations and has an approved and valid natural resources inventory equivalency letter, which is valid until February 3rd, 2030. Next slide. The main vehicular access to the site would be from Dyson's Road. As part of the subject application, the development of the site does not propose any structures or changes within the existing right-of-way along Dyson's Road. Next slide. Based on the plans submitted, the applicant has requested a mandatory referral for the review of construction of a new K-8 school with 1,544 students, playgrounds, a new surface parking lot, stormwater management, and on-site improvements. Next slide. The project was accepted on February 18th, 2025. Notices were mailed to adjoining, confronting, and abutting property owners and area civic associations on March 6, 2025. Next slide. These are the permits that are required. Next slide. The submitted site plan shows the southern portion of the property is occupied by a parking lot and a multi-purpose field. The proposed school will be located on the northern portion of the property. There are 2 vehicular access points along Dyson's Road. If you look at the slide, the upper entrance is connects to the parking lot and provides access to the building entrance located on the south side of the building. The parking lot is located inside the vehicular drop-off loop. It will hold 177 total parking spaces with 12 spaces reserved for electric vehicles and 9 spaces to accommodate ADA standards. The lower road is on the slide there, provides bus lane access to the building's entrance located on the western or lower side of the building. Sidewalks are provided along Dyson's Road and throughout the site, and crosswalks are provided where pedestrians and vehicular circulation overlap. Bike racks will hold approximately 30 bicycles and are located near the primary playground and to the south of the entry plaza. 4 outdoor classrooms and 4 outdoor learning areas are located around the proposed school building. A landscape plan was submitted with this application showing that landscaping is provided throughout the site and bioretention areas are incorporated into the design. Next slide. A majority of the staff recommendations are transportation in nature, and staff recommend that the applicant work with Prince George's County Department of Public Works and Transportation and Maryland SHA on these, and Maryland State Highway Administration on these and other transportation concerns. Next slide. The applicant is also encouraged to revise the landscape plan to include a tree canopy schedule and propose any additional landscaping that's needed. Compliance with the tree canopy coverage ordinance needs to be demonstrated during the permit process. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. Colleagues, any questions for staff? No questions. Mr. Parker, anything you would like to add?
Jeff Parker again, same introduction from before. Nothing else to add. Just pleased to be here. Thank you very much for the recommendations. We look forward to the transmittal, receiving the transmittal from the Park and Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And for the public, please know that we actually have these materials in advance. So we have reviewed these materials. If there's no other questions for staff or for the applicant, there's no one else who signed up to speak. What is your pleasure on this item, colleagues?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt staff's recommendations and approve the transmittal of MRF-2023-008 to the applicant.
Second. Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Commissioner Giraldo with no discussion. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
Chair Bailey.
But I.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Okay, we now do need to take a break, and I apologize for all those who will need to bide their time. It is just after 2:20. Let's start up again at 3:15. Okay, so we are on recess until 3:15. Thank you.
Is there one light there?
Was there one right in there?
Such a bossy lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are back from recess. The time is 3:15. This is the April 17th Planning Board meeting. We just wrapped up item 8 on the agenda. We're on item 9, detailed site plan DSP 24010 Melford Town Center, Block 4 and 6. We have Mr. Antonetti representing the applicant. We have a staff presentation by Mr. Meyerholtz. This is an evidentiary hearing. If we have folks who are signed up to speak, we'll swear them in at the appropriate time. And this, I believe, is a request for a continuance. So we will start with staff. Mr. Meyerholtz.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am David Meyerholtz with the Urban Design Section. Item number 9 is detailed site plan DSP-24010, which requests approval of parking methodology and optional parking and playground regulations for future tenants within existing flex buildings. In an April 14th memorandum to the Planning Board, the applicant submitted a request for a continuance of the Planning Board hearing from today, April 17th, 2025 to May 1st, 2025 to allow for further coordination between staff and the applicant regarding parking methodology. Additionally, the applicant submitted a waiver to the 70-day Planning Board action limit, extending the action limit 45 days to June 5th, 2025. Urban Design staff recommend that the planning board approve the continuance request and schedule this case for the May 1st meeting. This concludes staff's presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reinholz. If there's no questions for staff on this request for continuance, Mr. Antonetti, anything you want to add?
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. It's Arthur Horn, because Mr. Antonetti's and the family is vacationing, so I drew the short straw. There's really nothing else to add other than to say thank you for your consideration for this 2-week continuance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Horn. Colleagues, if there's no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request to continue DSP-24010 to planning board hearing date of May 1st, 2025.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. With no discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote as well. The ayes have it 3-0. And for the record, Commissioner Giraldo needed to step away. We still have a quorum, but the three of us are the commission for the next few cases unless Commissioner Giraldo steps back. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next case, which is item 10, our agenda, preliminary plan of subdivision, PPS 2024-017, Enclave at Brandywine, Phase 2. Mr. Haller will be representing the applicant. Ms. Vatendust will be giving the staff presentation. Again, this is an evidentiary hearing, and we will be sure to swear folks in at the appropriate time if necessary. And we'll start off with the staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Mahsa Vatendust with the subdivision section. Item number 10 on the agenda is the preliminary plan of subdivision for the Enclave at Brandywine, Phase 2. Case number PPS-2024-017. The subject project proposes 36 lots and 6 parcels for development of 36 single-family attached residential units. The application is further subject to an approved certificate of adequacy under case number ADQ-2024-041. Staff hasn't received any exhibits or correspondence prior to the Tuesday noon deadline. The applicant has indicated that they agree with the staff recommended conditions of approval. Based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommend that the planning board approve this preliminary plan of subdivision PPS-2024-017 and type 1 tree conservation plan TCP1-004-2019-01 subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Vatendust. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
No.
No questions. We'll turn to the applicant. If Mr. Haller, if you have anything you want to add.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. Thomas Haller, attorney with offices here in Largo. On behalf of the applicant, I have with me today Mr. Joe Licata, who's with Sage Custom Homes, and Mr. David Bickle, who's with our engineering team. I do want to thank staff, but not just Ms. Vatendust, but also all of Development Review. This is a phase 2 of a project that started under the old ordinance, and so this is a good example of trying to transition into the new ordinance, and that's why the description of the property looks so weird. But we are completing the preliminary plan of subdivision process, and we'll be following it up with a detailed site plan here shortly. But we fully agree with the staff's recommended conditions, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. And thanks you all for your patience today with us as well. Colleagues, any questions for the applicant?
No.
No questions. We have no one else who signed up to speak on this. Correct. So I'll close the public hearing. And colleagues, what is your pleasure on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve PPS-2024-017 and TCP1-004-2019-01, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey with no discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 3-0. Thank you all. Ms. Vatendust, thank you as well. Move on to item 11 on our agenda. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 LDRs, legislative drafting requests. And we will take them one at a time because these actually are action items. Ms. Hennessy, turn over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marion Hennessy. I'm acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I'm here to provide the staff report on LDR 44-2025. Next slide. This is a simple reminder of the process. We are at the first step right now. Next slide. The purpose of the bill is for the purpose of authorizing the issuance of grading permits in the LCD zone under certain circumstances. Next slide. The new use would impact all property zoned LCD in the county. Next slide. The proposed language allows the proposed use to be permitted to based on the following: a grading permit to support development uses such as installation of utilities, streets, stormwater management facilities, and lot grading permitted in the LCD zone may be issued by Department of Permits Enforcement and Inspections and Enforcement, so long as it is in conformance with the approved CDP or approved Type 1 TCP. A SDP and a final plat is not required for issuance of a grading permit under this subsection. Next slide. In addition, this creates an exception to the traditional order of approvals identified by the District Council by granting the holder of the CBP the right to obtain a grading permit before obtaining approval of a PPC and an SDP. There may be additional costs and delays if the physical changes to the property through grading occur prior to the PPS approval and later needs to be relocated and redesigned to comply with the subdivision regs. The grading permit are issued before District Council can review the SDP, and the District Council later finds that changes to the development are required for compliance with the requirements of the LCD zone. Next slide. And even in priority funding areas, a detailed site plan is required to be accepted prior to the issuance of a rough grading permit. The Planning Department consistently opposes site-specific legislation because it preempts the council's planning and zoning authority and can result in a patchwork of regulations. One of the primary goals of the new zoning ordinance is to avoid site-specific text amendments. The staff recommend the sponsor of the legislation seek input from local jurisdictions, especially with recent discussions in this year's General Assembly concerning the proliferation of certain uses and land use authority concerns. Next slide. Staff recommend the Planning Board take no position on LDR 44-2025. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. And just colleagues, and for the public as well, to reminder of this process. The reason why typically staff is recommending no position and for us to assume we'll be taking no position, the idea behind this is that we want to be weighing in on what we think makes sense or doesn't make sense related to the legislation. But at the end of the day, this will be in the council's purview. And so I think what is a more helpful role for us is to keep it in the advisory capacity to build off of staff's thoughts and reactions to it. But you know, to be blunt, but not to wade too much into the politics of it, and to keep it on the technical side. So that's it. And Mr. Warner, you may have something to add around that, or did I articulate that well enough?
No, that's exactly the kind of thing that's within your discretion to decide how you want to approach a recommendation. And sometimes no position is a fair recommendation when you're really not focused so much on what policy is right or not, but just trying to provide technical guidance. So,
okay, thank you for that. All right, so with that, we do have actually folks who signed up to speak on this LDR 11, item 11 on our agenda. We have Mr. Smith and Mr. Wixon. I saw Mr. Wixon. Mr. Smith, you're still on the line with us? We may have lost Mr. Smith, but we'll give him a chance, and maybe staff can help find out. But we do have Mr. Wixon. Mr. Wixon, I will turn to you if you could identify yourself for the record, name and address, and we'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak. And glad you came out, and thanks for your patience today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. Henry Wixon, for the record, 10701 Marietta Street in Glendale, Maryland. I appear before you today in my capacity as president of the Glendale Citizens Association, which is a civic association that has been serving the residents of Greater Glendale since 1949. And our objective is trying to encourage and preserve our quality of life in the county, and we have appreciated all the good work done by the planning board and particularly by the planning board staff in considering the present drafting request. We understand and appreciate the chair's comments about and the planning staff suggestion that the planning board not take a position. Our position is that we would oppose this particular legislative drafting request for the reasons outlined by the planning board staff. And we would recommend that the planning board also take a position. And in this instance, given the importance to the planning process of this particular matter, we also suggest that if the planning board determines not to take a position, to take no position on this, that in the least it provide, and maybe we missed this, it provide the planning staff's observations, which have just been presented to all of us, to the district council or the county council rather, for the benefit of the council's consideration as that that entity takes up this legislative drafting request. And so that is the gist of our remarks on this. We think it's an unfortunate proposal, and we oppose it as an association and recommend the planning board opposes it as well. I have to take any questions, but that concludes my remarks this afternoon, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear before the planning board.
Thank you, Mr. Wixon, and please be mindful that if we are to take staff's recommendation, and if we were to take no position on this, we would be adopting the comments by staff as well. We'd be incorporating those into what we communicate to the council, very much along the lines of what you were just suggesting.
Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, any questions on this item? Wait, Mr. Smith, are you on the line? Okay, then I will turn to you all on this LDR. What is your pleasure, colleagues?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff's report and take no position on LDR-44-2025.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey with no discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Wixon. We'll move on to item 12. This is LDR 58-2025. Ms. Hennessy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Planning Board, my name is Marion Hennessy, Acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I'm here to provide a staff report on LDR 58-2025. Next slide. This is a simple reminder of the process. We're at the first step right now. Next slide. The purpose of the bill is for the purpose of repealing Section 27-61603 little b, universal design of the green building standard within the county zoning ordinance. Next slide. The new use would impact all property in all zoning areas in the county. Next slide. The proposed language allows the, here are some issues. But here is our policy analysis in a nutshell. The adoption of the mandatory universal design requirements in 2024 impacts the zoning ordinance's green building point system to ensure development includes a minimum degree of green building features. Under the green building point system, applicants have the ability to select from a menu of standards to meet the minimum points. The list includes the same universal design standards now required by the building code. This legislation only deletes the universal standard as an optional green building standard since it is now a required building standard. The other standard requirements remain. Next slide. Staff recommend the Planning Board take no position on LDR 58-2025.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. We have no one who signed up to speak on this one. Again, what is before us is considering staff's recommendations for us to adopt and their recommendations that we take no position as well. Colleagues, what's your pleasure in this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff's report and take no position on LDR-58-2025.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey with no discussion. I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 3-0. Moving on to item 13 on our agenda. This is LDR 61-2025. Ms. Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marion Hennessy, Acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I'm here to provide the staff report on LDR 61, 2025. Next slide. This is a simple reminder of the process. We are at the first step right now. Next slide. The purpose of the bill is for the purpose of amending the decision standards for approval of detailed site plan and special exception applications to include master plan consistency as a required standard for the site plan approval. Next slide. The new use would impact all properties zoned LCD in the county. Next slide. The proposed language allows the proposed use to be permitted subject to the following. The proposed use and site plan is consistent with the general plan and conform with the relevant area master plan or sector plan, functional master plans, and the growth policy maps for the property and the surrounding area. Next slide. Here is our policy analysis. The county's 38 active approved master sector and transit development plans may contain graphic depictions or illustrations that are conceptual in nature and may conflict with the requirements or standards recently adopted by the District Council in the current zoning ordinance. An analysis of CB 003-2023, a similar bill, included an analysis that the best way to ensure that DSP conforms to the master and sector plan is always implement the zoning recommended in the council's master and sector plans and to avoid text amendments. We recommend the sponsor of the legislation seek input from the local jurisdictions, especially with recent discussions in this year's General Assembly concerning the proliferation of certain uses and land use authority concerns. Next slide. Staff recommends the Planning Board take no position on LDR 61, 2025. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Questions for staff at this point? We have a number of folks who signed up to speak for and against. I'll turn to my list. I see Mr. Smith, Dan Smith, who's been patiently waiting. Greg Smith, are you back on the line? Mr. Wixon, I know you're still here. And here in person, we have Mr. Tedesco and Mr. Goldsmith. We'll go through the list in that order. Ask each of you to keep your remarks at no more than 3 minutes. And Mr. Dan Smith, we will start with you. If you could introduce yourself, name and address to the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dan Smith. I'm at 6019 Inwood Street in Cheverly. And I'm here today in support of this, and just to go over a few points that I would like just to reiterate or consider. Appreciate the work that the staff has done at looking at this and making some of its policy analysis. I think the staff did quite well in identifying why there's support in the community for this, and where so many people have found spending considerable time developing master plans and sector plans, and then to feel like those are not being to feel like they're actually discounted is sort of a perception that comes across to folks. We know that that often is not the intention. It's the way sometimes the process works, but that is a real source of frustration and something that needs to be addressed to really build some confidence, more confidence in the system for communities and residents. So in the policy analysis, it says there's no documentation of community engagement or coordination with local municipalities in this. I just would like to say that there was, when we look at the history of this issue and recent attention to it, and as referred in CB 3 2023 and then CB 15 2024, there was no community support for CB 15 to delete the community supported provisions that were in CB 3. In fact, there was strong, clear opposition. Also, I think that the you know, in the policy recommendations, because we feel like it is valuable to have staff look at development from how it does meet or exceed, if that is ever the case, some of the vision that is in these documents. Developers often do not genuinely address these community recommendations that are developed with substantial, as we refer to, substantial staff support and guidance. So a review could note clearly if it's not meeting certain standards, it can't proceed. But these are minimal standards. The visions that are in these documents are the community's, you know, hard fought aspirations. So that a review of these, it would be helpful if the staff can be able to say that in some of these cases, these exceed, or these are an improvement, so that if the alignment of like the plans are old and outdated, clearly the more current pronouncements of the council prevail. And if there is a gap in updating some of these, it would be an opportunity for the staff to make that case that this is, they could affirm with the developer, this is an improvement on the plan. So I think that would be helpful for us all to know. So I think that the requirement, you know, another.
Mr. Smith, let me ask you to, give yourself a sentence or two more to wrap up.
Okay, so just, I think that it's important to identify the degree to which applications conform with or exceed plan recommendations, and therefore with some technical changes and things, I would urge support, not no position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate that. Mr. Greg Smith, are you on the line? All right, we'll go to Mr. Wixon. If you could introduce yourself again for the record, and we'll put 3 minutes up on the clock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. For the record, Henry Wixon, 10701 Marietta Street, and I appear before you today in my capacity as president of the Glendale Citizens Association, which has been serving residents of Glendale since 1949. The association considered LDR 61 2025 at its most recent regular meeting and voted unanimously to support that that provision, LDR 61, and the reasons for doing so track rather well the comments just made by the previous speaker, Mr. Smith. I can say from personal experience as chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee for the 1993 Master Plan and Sectional Map Amendment for our planning area, that it is quite frustrating to see the recommendations of the master plan and the subsequent sector plans for our area, in which our association and I myself personally were very actively involved, essentially appear to be ignored as a function of the, well, to a large extent, the text amendments that are with which our current term limited council is so enamored. And we would very much like to see LDR 61 passed by the council. It also will provide the planning board, when it's considering a proposal, with a set of objective criteria with which to evaluate a proposed plan. And I can't imagine that that would not be of assistance to the planning board in its deliberations. I will say, with respect to the slide, and of course we appreciate planning staff's consideration and very helpful comments. It seemed to me, and that went up pretty fast, that they pointed out that there might be a distinction between maps and that there might be a recent map that superseded, and that that LDR 61 as it is currently written would not necessarily address that. I think the solution here is to recommend language to address that, consistent with what Mr. Smith has just said. And I would very much encourage the planning board to suggest to staff that they do submit or prepare language to address the concern that was expressed or reflected rather in that slide. But again, the bottom line is the Glendale Citizens Association very much supports LDR 61, would like to see it passed by the council, and recommends that the planning board recommend approval in its consideration of LDR 61. And with that, I conclude my remarks. Happy to take any questions, and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today.
Thank you, Mr. Wixon. Appreciate it. We'll now turn to Mr. Tedesco, and then Mr. Goldsmith, and then Mr. Rivera signed up in the back of the room. So we'll go in that order. Mr. Tedesco.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. For the record, Matthew Tedesco at the law firm of McNamee in Greenbelt. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard on this piece of legislation, LDR 61 to 2025. I stand before you in opposition, as you can imagine, to this proposed legislation. And by reference, I would incorporate and adopt this planning board's analysis dated January 12, 2023, as well as the zoning hearing examiner's analysis dated January 10, 2023, in reference to CB 3, 2023, in which this board and the hearing examiner, as well as the county executive, opposed CB 3. This is a regurgitation of CB 3. It seeks to do exactly what staff has outlined and what Mr. Wixon and Mr. Smith outlined, which is to provide the ability for an application for a detailed site plan at the end of the entitlement process to be denied based upon a planning principle, most of which will be inconsistent with our new zoning ordinance, because we are now conflating principles of planning and principles of zoning. Not to give a dissertation on land use 101, but we have planning and we have zoning. They're two distinct things. Planning is meant to be aspirational. It provides setting the future goals at a point static in time that furthers the police powers, while zoning must consider in real time whether a particular zone or use should be granted. This bill ties those concepts, the planning and zoning concepts together, ignoring the fact that they are not synonymous. Zoning implements the plan. This piece of legislation, as CB3 seeks to do, is put planning above zoning. So I stand before you just as a way of an example. The oldest applicable master plan and sector plan in the county is from 1989. It's still applicable. We have a 21st century zoning ordinance that we have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars getting done. We have new zones that are no longer Euclidean single-use zones. All zones are basically mixed-use zones at this point, various different uses. But a 1989 plan could never have contemplated a zoning ordinance that we have now. It's impossible. But what we're going to do is we have zones and we have uses that now are permitted in certain zones, and we're going to be held to the standard at the time of detailed site plan to conform to policies and goals and aspirations from 1989 in that example. And that's replete within the county. There's only been one sector plan or master plan that's been adopted since the new zoning ordinance went into effect, and that's the Bowie and Vicinity Master Plan. One. Every other one is 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 36 years old. It's going to be in conflict, and there is no escape valve. There's no language in this bill that says if there's a conflict, the zoning supersedes. There is that language in the subdivision regulations. And why is that? Is because the drafters of the subdivision regulations, you all as the planning board and the county council, understood that we have conflicts in old, outdated master plans and sector plans that can't possibly coincide with the new 21st century zoning ordinance, with all new zones, with all new uses, with all new mix of uses. And so the subdivision regulations state very clearly, if there's a conflict, the zoning ordinance controls. That doesn't exist here. You have to ask yourself why. Why doesn't it exist here? Because the goal of this bill is to be able to deny a detailed site plan at the end of the road. And for those reasons, and for all the reasons that you all previously stated, should oppose this bill, like it was recommended back in 2023. And it is, I'll just leave you with this, it is impossible to implement a master plan or administer a new zoning ordinance when these documents and the new zones created with the CMA conflict with each other. And unless you have a language in this bill that addresses that conflict, it creates uncertainty, and it creates the ability to, in our opinion, deny a detailed site plan simply because you don't like the use. And we shouldn't have that in a 21st century form-based code. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Mr. Goldsmith. and then Mr. Rivera. And is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Okay.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. Peter Goldsmith here with the law firm Lord Shirley and Brewer in their Bowie office. I regretted not speaking up the last time that this legislation was proposed. And in the spirit of the times where I think we need to speak up when something is wrong, I think this is about as dangerous as a zoning bill can be. There are obvious reasons why I think that this is nonsensical, which have some folks have mentioned. You know, general plans are policy documents, detailed site plans, special exceptions are land use approvals that must meet clear legal standards. This general plan is 11 years old. It was enacted before COVID. It was or adopted before what's going on in Washington right now. And these are material events that are affecting the real estate market. Yes, we have master plans that are many decades old. I mean, if the process worked the way that it is supposed to, a detailed site plan and a special exception would be consistent with the general plan because the correct zoning would be in place. You know, and also not all of the master plan centers have been established by master plans that were enacted after the general plan. As Mr. Tedesco just testified, there are very few that have been enacted. And so in PG Atlas, if you pull up the master or where the general plan centers are, some of them are just placeholder circles that and the boundary goes right through properties. And so it doesn't make any sense. And in drafting our statements of justification for detailed site plans, we would have to guess what a relevant goal, policy, and strategy is and hope that we get it right. But aside from these practical reasons why this bill should fail, we operate in a county where the legislative branch can hold quasi-judicial hearings and interpret the zoning laws that they enact. And because a general plan is not written with the precision of a code, consistency can mean whatever the council wants it to mean. And they can flip through this book and find some reason why a detailed site plan is not consistent and kill any project that they don't like. And when I explain that to clients, when this language was in the code before, my clients would say, well, why on earth would I subject myself to this and work in this county? And my response was, I have no idea. So I ask you that you oppose the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith. Mr. Rivera.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff. Norman Rivera, for the record, I represent several clients in the county. Douglas Development asked me to be here. They have several holdings. Becker Building Company, they are developing planned retirement communities. Sage Ventures, they have CGO property and other jobs they're doing in the county. And these two bills in and of themselves could be a death knell. We're in the beginning processes of feasibility. We might be through the process somewhat. So it just puts a specter of disincentive. The master plans are considered as part of the development review process already. I don't want to go into all the stuff that Matt and Peter just did, but it just said that it is also true what they said about the inability of the county to process master plans timely. And that's not our fault. Master plans, as staff notes in the report, master plans are not law. The code is the law. So even on page 2, paragraph C of the staff report, there's no justification for the bill, staff notes. There's no community engagement. CB 223, which is the bill that established the process we're here today for, which is have planning staff review of a text amendment, says you should have community engagement. The council bill does not have that, is evidence in the record. Page 5, there's no demonstrated need for this because, again, master plans are part of the review process. So I don't think my colleagues see no reason to have an additional impediment because you've already gone through zoning, you've gone through preliminary plan, then you might be a DSP, and all of a sudden the council at that time in the future could say, no, we found something, as Peter said, that says no. So I think we should leave this process as it is. let things go forward so we can continue growing this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. But anyone else who signed up to speak on this? Okay, our colleagues, back to us. I have lots of the concerns that I've heard in the community that I share. And I think staff's done a pretty good job of laying it out. Again, I think it is problematic for us to weigh in too much on the policy side. I think we probably all have strong feelings about this, and I think I would encourage us to stick with our process and take no position, and just make sure that we are amplifying the concerns that staff has already presented. But I'm open to a discussion about that and seeing where you are all with this.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then with that, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff's report and recommend and take no position on LDR-61-2025.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. With no discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Now move on to our last LDR, LDR 63-2025. Ms. Hennessy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marion Hennessy, Acting Planning 4 with the Planning Director's Office. I'm here to provide the staff report on LDR 63-2025. Next slide. Again, here is a simple reminder of the process. We are at the first step now. Next slide. The purpose of the bill is for the purpose of amending the uses permitted in the CGO zone, amending the principal use table for non-residential base zones, and providing for approval or certain residential developments in the CGO zone by special exception or planned development zoning map amendment. Next slide. The new use is permitted in the CGO zone, and I'd like to clarify, it would be permitted in all other zones in the county by special exception. Next slide. The proposed language allows the proposed use to be permitted subject to the following: multifamily, two-family, and townhouse dwellings that are part of adjoining lots or parcels in the CGO zone that comprise less than 20 acres can be permitted by special exception. 20 acres or greater may be permitted by approval of the PD zoning map amendment pursuant to section 27-3602. Next slide. A related topic under CB 15-2024 was heard at the Planning Board public hearing held on February 22nd, 2024, and the County Council Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee on April 17th, 2024. The TSR includes an analysis of the consistency with Plan 2035 and several area master and sector plans. Next slide. Here is our analysis in a nutshell. The 2024 Governor's Housing Bill, HB 538, and this year's HB 503 both highlight the importance of considering housing topologies to be targeted in growth areas, especially in achieving housing topologies that are affordable. And staff recommend the sponsor of the bill seek input from local jurisdictions to ensure that proposed standards are considered for neighborhood compatibility for all housing topologies. Next slide. Staff recommends the Planning Board take no position on LDR 63-2025.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. Colleagues, with no questions for staff, we'll go to our speakers list. It's the same list as we had before, I believe. We'll start with Mr. Dan Smith. Greg Smith, are you on the line? No. And we have Mr. Wixon, Mr. Tedesco, Mr. Goldsmith, Mr. Rivera. Are you speaking on this item as well? No? Yes? All right, just want to make sure you've signed in. Maybe you already did. All right, we'll start with Mr. Dan Smith. Same thing, we'll put 3 minutes up on the clock, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Dan Smith, 6019 Inwood Street, Cheverly, Maryland. So I may not be the most articulate to present the overall analysis. I think some others can follow and provide, but I think it is come from a position of firmly believing in smart growth, in infill development, densification of areas where we've got infrastructure and services that are provided, and that regardless of the need, and especially with the need for increased housing and housing affordability, that does not justify sprawl development and the proliferation of the kinds of development that can occur with the current process that we have. So it's important for these kinds of housing developments to be located where there's infrastructure, public transportation, and services. And so to not promote forest loss and sprawl, and for the efficient, cost-effective, sustainable provision of county services. I really would welcome the planning staff and board to assist the county and the communities within the county at applying and adapting to and having really smart growth inconsistent with the governor's bills to look at affordable housing. So with that in mind, I support this. I also think it's, again, I just would reflect that it's important to review and consider the outpouring of public concerns that came up with the provisions that were in CB 15 and then the bill before that. So with that, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate it. Mr. Greg Smith, not on the line. Mr. Wixon, turn to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Henry Wixon. I live at 10701 Marietta Street in Glendale, Maryland, and I appear before you today in my capacity as president of the Glendale Citizens Association, a civic association formed in 1949 to serve the residents of the greater Glendale community. And at our most recent regular business meeting, we considered LDR 63, 2025, and unanimously voted to support it. And Mr. Smith, who has just spoken previously, does not give himself enough credit because I believe that his comments were very articulate and that he well articulated the reasons that the planning board should support LDR 63, 2025. We also agree with the need to encourage housing availability in this county. We would suggest that the need for good housing of higher density should correspond to the areas where we have the facilities, the infrastructure in place, including transit facilities. What we have been seeing and experienced in Glendale with respect to the CGO zone is that is so widely applied across the county that is being used to impose higher density development in the absence of the required infrastructure. We believe that is inconsistent with the county's plans for reasonable growth and sustainable growth. And we believe it has been quite damaging already. And accordingly, we would support LDR 63 because it would afford the planning board and the council some additional process to ensure that the use of or the proposals for this kind of development across the county have the benefit of a special exception process or a plan development zoning map amendment before they are put into place. And we think that that process would be of great value to the planning board as well as to the council, as well as to the citizens of this county in order to avoid sprawl, as Mr. Smith pointed out, and to encourage development where the transit, the infrastructure exists. And we also, as an aside, think that the county should continue to and should enhance its encouragement of that kind of development at areas where mass transit exists. And So for those reasons, we recommend that the planning board support LDR 63, and we thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today.
Thank you, Mr. Wixon. We'll move on to Mr. Tedesco.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, Matthew Tedesco with the law firm of McNamee Hosey in Greenbelt. Here on behalf of a number of clients who are in various processes of development within the CGO zone, some inside the Beltway and some outside the Beltway. I'm standing before you in opposition to LDR 63 2025. With all due respect to the sponsors as well as to those who testified in support, this bill is not an anti-sprawl bill. That's a misnomer. It's not an anti-sprawl bill. It is an anti-housing bill, and it is an anti-economic development bill. Contrary to section 27-4203 D1C, the purposes of the CGO zone, and I quote, to accommodate higher density residential uses as part of a vertically or horizontally mixed use development. It was purposeful. It was purposeful. And this bill contradicts the very purpose of the zone. My clients in particular, inside and outside the Beltway, have secured financing, investments, have made move forward with projects that have already commenced with the preliminary plan of subdivision and detailed site plan process. There is no grandfathering. We have had the CGO zone now for 3 years, and everybody in this building has been encouraging us to use the new zoning ordinance. We have, and now we're being penalized because now we're going to be told your detailed site plan, your preliminary plan, start over. You got to do a special exception if you're less than 20 acres, and if you're more than 20 acres, you got to do a rezoning and start from the very beginning. That is not an anti-sprawl bill. That's an anti-development bill. There is no rational basis for the chosen 20-acre trigger. In CB 15 2024, it was 25 acres. What's the reason? It's not in the bill. It hasn't been articulated here today. I know you're not the drafters of it, but I think these are questions we should be asking. There seems to be that acreage seems to be pulled out of thin air without any rational basis, and the bill fails on constitutional grounds for that reason. Moreover, in CB 15 had an exemption to CGO properties inside the Beltway for the very reasons that Mr. Wixon and Mr. Smith just testified to. Inside the Beltway was exempt. There is no such exemption in this bill. Let's turn to the 20 acres or less. Again, not understanding where 20 acres came from, but that will result in cause reduction and impediment of marketability and revitalization or redevelopment of commercial areas with a mix of uses, and will further reduce housing, placemaking, walkability with uses close to each other, which are all policies of the CGO zone. Let's turn to the 20 acres or more and now requires a PD rezoning. Based upon, and there's been no analysis that I've seen with respect to, okay, let's look at a CGO zone that's more than 20 acres or more, and what PD zone would be available to it. Can't be RPD, right? Because RPD is locational standards are limited to residential base zones. CGO is not a residential base zone. Really can't be IEPD, because IEPD is industrial employment or heavy industrial IE or IH. There is employment areas. There probably are a few commercially zoned properties in the employment area, but that employment area in Plan 2035 is very small and it's mostly industrial. So that's not a good fit. NACPD, TACPD, LTOPD, and RTOPD. All those locational standards are within local transit centers and growth policy maps. All of those properties in the CMA went to NAC, LTO, TAC, or RTO. They're not CGO. And even if there are, that only leaves one left, the MXPD zone. And what does the MXPD zone locational standard say? An MUPD zone may not be located on land classified within a neighborhood center, a town center, a local transit center, or a regional transit center. So what's left? And there's been no analysis that I've seen of what CGO zone properties would even be able to be rezoned to PD zone. So if there aren't any, what does that standard actually do? It does what we think it's going to do, which is going to impede housing and impede all the things that that the testimony that you heard today is seeking to do, which is incentivize more housing opportunities, especially inside the Beltway and especially inside our transit areas where we have some CGO property. So with that, I think this bill is flawed. I think it's a misnomer that it's an anti-sprawl bill. The CGO zone has very clear policies, and this is contrary to it. So thank you. We would ask that you oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Mr. Goldsmith. And then Mr. Rivera.
Afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, Peter Goldsmith with law firm Lurcherly and Brewer in Bowie. Sprawl is just a pretext for what this bill actually does. If housing in the CGO zone were to remain a permitted use, then according to the Maryland Supreme Court's decision in County Council, Prince George's County versus Zimmer and the cases that followed, the district council could only overturn this planning board's decision if they found that the board's decision were arbitrary or capricious or illegal. Now, if housing becomes a special exception use, then they have, and so that's a very narrow standard. Their hands are pretty much tied. If it becomes a special exception use, then they have original jurisdiction and they don't need to defer to this planning board's recommendation. And then they can decide whether to grant the special exception de novo or not. And that's what they're trying to do here. And I don't understand why we would make it more difficult and more uncertain to build housing in this county right now, especially when we need housing to support our failing commercial shopping centers. And so I, again, hope that you choose to vote to oppose this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith. Mr. Rivera.
Good afternoon again, Norm Rivera for the record. I echo the comments of my colleagues. Again, there's some defective due process issues here in terms of the notice, the community engagement. Was there demonstrated community need? It doesn't even fulfill the requirements of CB 223 to process an LDR. So this very council who adopted the CGO zone just 3 years ago is now cutting out the legs from it. So they're all based on master plans that they themselves or the rewrite, moreover, just in 2022, designated all these CGO zones. So what was the use in designating a CGO? If you look at the map on page 33, there's not a whole lot of these CGO zones. So that was a whole waste of time if you're going to do it this way. You can't make a use that's permitted go through another process when it was a permitted use by the very same people who adopted the land use policies. So the staff has said, like 5 pages in the report of the conflicts with LDR 63 with all the sector plans that this council is supposedly asking for compliance with in LDR 61. So it's a conflict there too. Anyway, hope you do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Anyone else who signed up to speak on this? If not, colleagues, similar frustration, but I'm mindful of our role and I'm curious where you land on this and what your pleasure is in this item.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out to make sure that the hearing testimony is complete with a lot of good information and detailed information.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff's report and take no position on LDR 63-2025.
That's including with all the comments and everything that were made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a good point. All the comments for the hearing go into the record of what we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Well, you communicate your recommendation, but you can ask that those comments be included in your cover letter.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Let's do that retroactively for all 4 of these. Where there were comments.
Okay, just summarized.
Yeah, summarized, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And we did second. We got a motion by Commissioner Washington, second by by Vice Chair Bailey with no discussion. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thanks, everybody. We have one more item on our agenda. This is a supplemental agenda item number 15. This is detailed site plan DET 2023-03 Michael's Retreat. We have Mr. Hatcher, who is representing the applicant on this. We have Mr. Huang, who's going to be giving the staff presentation. We have folks who signed up to speak on this. It is an evidentiary hearing. I'll swear people in at the appropriate time. Let me just make sure that the folks who signed up in opposition actually are here to speak. I have Mr. Grant Giel.
I'm here, sir, and I will note that Alex Vota from our office is not speaking. I had her signed up last week on my behalf, but I will be speaking for both of us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gill. So I think you're the only one we have signed up to speak.
No, I'm sorry. We also had our surveyor, Steve Gaskins. He's here in ABC Land. He was signed up last week. We had some issues with regards to a variety of procedural matters because this was continued, but he was also planning to speak for 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here to speak.
Okay, then we're fine. We're fine because it's last week. So the one thing I want to be clear about, and this is perhaps we'll consider this a procedural matter, which is my understanding from reading the record and the issues that you have concerns about are related to a boundary dispute. Yes, no, because I'm trying to figure out.
Characterize it as that. Yeah,
But I want to figure out why this is in our purview.
Well, we should wait to hear the evidence presented, of course, but what they've presented in the written records suggests that the adjacent property owner believes they have a property interest in the property that's before you for the DSP approval. And so depending on what they claim their interest to be and what evidence they present, that could be a matter that the planning board wants to consider.
But isn't that a legal issue?
Why isn't that a private matter?
How would that,
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Someone comes to the planning board here asking for a detailed site plan and says, I own this property. And so please give me my development approval. A neighbor shows up with a plat and shows that indeed I own the property. Okay. You might consider a condition to your approval of the detailed site plan that because the evidence provided by the adjacent property reflects sufficiently that they very well could own some of the property, we'll attach a condition saying the two parties need to resolve this before you'll certify the detailed site plan. That would be an example.
But Mr. Warner, that would be like, in my mind, that would be like saying in every single case, we approve this detailed site plan as long as you actually own the property.
When you
they can't, if they don't own the property, they don't have the right to develop it, and then it's a private matter.
If you apply for a detailed site plan, one of the things you attest to is that you own the property as the applicant, or you are here with the consent of the property owner. If you don't have that, and there's sufficient evidence to show that you don't own the property, then I would recommend you do include a condition, or you even deny the detailed site plan. If the evidence was that sufficient.
But I don't feel like we, the four of us, have the capacity to resolve these kinds of boundaries disputes around property ownership.
You're free to make that
decision. For us, detailed site plan.
You're free to make that decision, of course, but I would suggest don't prejudge it. Let's hear the evidence first.
The problem I'm having, and the reason why I'm pushing back, is to hear the evidence suggests that what you are recommending us to do is determine whether or not there is a valid claim that they don't own the property.
I don't know what evidence is going to be provided to give you.
We've read the backup. We hear the information.
You haven't even heard from Mr. Hatcher's
unless there's
expert,
testimony that's going to clear the matter up.
Right. Exactly. Mr. Hatcher has not had the opportunity to present, for instance, his testimony from his expert. All you had in the packet is the evidence submitted by the opponent.
But we have two experts then, and the two experts, I'm sure, are going to speak differently on the issue. If we go ahead and say, okay, we think there's enough here, and then we accept it, they could use that, and a problem comes later. They go to court. Well, the planning board considered it.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are you suggesting then that you're going to not let them speak, and you've already made up your mind?
No.
Or are we going to let them speak and make our decision?
Mr. Warner.
Right.
Please don't take a position on this in advance either.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just telling you, listen to the evidence.
The reason why I want to have the discussion, why I want to bring you into this is because I'm concerned that the act of listening to the evidence is suggesting we take up a role that I'm not sure we're qualified to take up. And that's not even before us. Because, yeah, to Mr. Commissioner Geraldo's point, if we say, I think Mr. Hatcher's right, based on what criteria are we using to determine the property dispute?
I think we should have that discussion after we hear from the parties. But your planning board procedures are very flexible with regard to the type of evidence you hear. You allow hearsay evidence. You only allow someone to adopt a motion if preventing someone from testifying in extreme situations. So, we are very open to hearing everything. And then you can make the decision after you hear that this is not relevant for us. That's all I'm saying. You may very well be making the right decision, absolutely. But I don't want to prejudge.
Colleagues, I'm curious where you are, because I feel a bit stuck on this. I really feel like it's not about hearing the evidence and not hearing the evidence. It doesn't feel like it's the case before us. We do this often. We will say that's not relevant to what's before us. We get that if somebody wants to bring up transportation issues on a DSP, and we say, no, we may or may not hear it, but it's really not relevant. Maybe as a courtesy, we'll allow folks to speak a little bit, but we recognize that's not what's before us. So I'm just concerned about going down a road on this when I don't want us to imagine that we have the authority to determine what feels to me like a private matter.
And I think there's a condition precedent to even hearing the application is a determination by a judicial body that in fact there is or there isn't. I mean, that's the way.
Prior to hearing it.
Yeah, I think because the issue is a legal issue. It's not an issue that we need to consider. So the condition preceding here is there a violation of or is there a situation where the owner is claiming or the developer is claiming they own the land, and then we have another party that's claiming, no, I own the land. And I think that's condition preceding.
Written evidence that you've received so far is not a claim that the neighbor owns the land. The claim is that right of way there.
And that's a legal issue. The right of way is a legal issue, right?
And that's the written evidence that the opponents, by my best guess, are suggesting, right? But we haven't heard from them. And they may add to that.
What, the opponent?
They haven't tested.
This is a point. Is the easement one or the right of way? Is that as a result of a prescriptive easement? Is it a written easement or written right of way? Is there a contractual issue, or is it an easement that developed over 30 years?
They presented about 4 or 5 different deeds, the opponents have. And in those deeds, they show that there was a roadway, dedicated is what they use the term for, a right of way, and that the detailed site plan proposes to build homes on that right of way. It's a right of way, this is again their terms, that they believe they have a right of access to develop their own property. And their argument is if you approve the construction of townhouses on what they say is a right of way, you will be harming them. And so they want to make that case to you. And you may very well determine after you hear from all the parties that this isn't a matter for us. And that very well may be the right thing.
So if it's not, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah, but so I'm just saying we should hear the testimony first, then have this discussion.
So then if it's not a matter for us, I don't know what the end result is.
We don't know that is Mr. Warner's point. And I'm trying to listen through the lens of the attorney to my left and the attorney to
The attorney right in front of you that is dying to speak. Dying to speak. Respectfully.
We are literally deliberating the case right now.
Yes.
To some degree.
You were creating facts that they have not alleged, that they did not submit, and that they haven't said anything.
Hold on, Mr.
We're still talking prior to here.
Yeah, I'm still in a bit of a loss. I mean, I certainly would want to err on the side of hearing the information. My concern is that we hear the information, we make a determination. I don't believe we have the authority to do that. And all of a sudden, we may get ourselves wrapped up in a legal dispute because it's not in our purview. I'm still at a loss, but I hear you. I know you disagree. So, all right, why don't we proceed?
Well, is it appropriate for us to request that the applicant and the opponent resolve this issue and then bring this case back to us before us even hearing it?
Guess they tried.
Well, again, if you really felt like it was an issue that needed to be resolved before they brought this case forward, then, potentially you could suggest that, and the applicant might say, I would like to try it. It's like we resolve issues with neighbors all the time.
Right.
I think that, at the conclusion of hearing the evidence from both sides, you will be able to make, I believe, a decision based on all the evidence that you'll be satisfied with. I'm just thinking that's the case. But I think it would be a mistake not to hear the evidence. Because we have a very relaxed standard for the type of evidence that we hear. And for a board that is opening up its processes to hearing from the public and is very open about hearing everybody, we hear testimony on all sorts of things from people. And we have a very relaxed standard in our procedures to what we accept as testimonial evidence. So to be consistent with our procedures, I would recommend that you hear the testimony, which we don't even know what it's going to say. If the testimony starts off in some path within 30 seconds and you say this is irrelevant, okay, fine, make that decision. But I would let the parties give their testimony.
But I don't even think it's an issue of relevance at this juncture. I think the issue is whether or not the development that we're going to review and make a determination on will in fact go forward when you have another group claiming that they own or they have some sort of easement where the developer wants to develop.
And we could have heard and finished it by now. But this is
we could have, but the problem is
yeah, but some of us want to have dinner.
Had lunch.
don't even have lunch.
We're moving forward. And so we're going to start with, this is an evidentiary hearing. We're going to start with Mr. Hatcher. No, we're going to start with staff. Mr. Wong, then we're going to go hear from Mr. Hatcher, then we'll hear from the opposition. We have a number of folks who've signed up to speak on this at this point. So we'll go through our speakers list. We'll have an opportunity for rebuttal. And then we'll both the opposition and the applicant will have an opportunity to close. The applicant will get the final word. We'll manage the time in such a way that we make sure that there's a roughly fair balance of time between the applicant and the opposition. Am I missing anything, Mr. Warren? Perfect. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll start with Mr. Wong. And if you want to weigh in on the issue.
No.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, the member of the planning boards. For the record, my name is Emery Huang with Urban Design Sections. Item number 15 is detailed site plan DET-2023-003 for Michael's Retreat. This detailed site plan is for the development of 155 townhouse units with associated infrastructure and amenities. Staff want to note that this application was continued to April 17, 2025 from April 10, 2025. As a matter of housekeeping, staff received a total of 10 exhibits prior to Tuesday noon daylight. One exhibit from the applicants, titled Applicants Exhibit 1, outlines the revised conditions proposed by the applicants. Staff are in agreement with the revisions. Prior to April 8th, 2025, staff received 4 documents from Ms. Alexandra Voto, an attorney with the law office of the Massey Nelson, and 4 documents from Ms. Steve Gaskins with ABC Land Surveying LLC. Both Ms. Voto and Ms. Gaskins represents Ms. Herschel Michael Carpenter, who owns the property located on Akoki Road and abuts the 3 sites of the site for the subject development. Please see the page 11 of additional materials for the specific location of Ms. Carpenter's property. Prior to April 15th run deadlines, staff also received another exhibit from Ms. Gaskey's office, titled Opposition Exhibit 9, which is identical to the Opposition Exhibit 8. The total 9 documents are about the legitimacy of a 60-foot wide right-of-way located west of the Mr. Carpenter's properties and how this right-of-way is related to the development of his property. Staff want to note that both issues are not relevant to the detailed site plan review. Next slides, please. So the subject property is located in the planning area 85-8 and Council District 9. Next slide, please. Geographically, the property is located on the north side of Akoki Road, approximately 600 feet west of its intersection with Branch Avenue. Next slide, please. Under the current zoning ordinance, most of the 30.41 acre properties is located within the residential single family attached.
1 second, Troy, there's an echo going on.
Are you muted?
Yes, yes. Testing. Okay.
So most of the properties located within the residential single-family attached RSF-A zones. There's a sliver of land along the Brandywine avenues, about 0.12 acres is zoned residential rural RR. Next slide, please. This map demonstrates the subject properties' environmental features. Next slide, please. This map shows the adjacent master plans rights of ways. Both Akoki Road and the Brandywine Avenue are classified as collectors' roads. Next slide, please. The area image shows the properties for this development is currently wooded. Next slide, please. The proposed development includes 155 townhouse units. They are located in 2 parts because on-site environmental features divide the property into 2 developable areas. The western part consists of 73 units, and the eastern part consists of 82 units. The proposed development includes 3 vehicular access points on the Akoki Road, 2 access points for the western part, and 1 access point for the eastern part. Within the subject property, private roads form the primary vehicular circulation for the site and provide access to 155 front-loading townhouse units. The image to the right shows the location of open space set aside provided by the development. The active recreational areas is delineated as shown in the red grid area, which is about 0.91 acres. Next slide, please. These detailed site plans subject to the 2010 landscape manual requirements, and the subject development is conformance with these requirements. In these detailed site plans, the applicants also provided 2 recreation areas. One area is located on the parcel N, which is labeled as A on the screen. The other area is located on the parcel F, which is labeled as B on the screen. Both areas include dog way stations. Next slide, please. These slides demonstrate the tree conservation plan, which is discussed on the page 27 of technical staff report. Next slide, please. The submitted bike pedestrian plan shows the provision of crosswalks, trails, 5-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the private roads, and a 10-foot wide side paths along the Akoki roads as well as Brandywine avenues. Form the pedestrian circulation for the site. Next slide, please. Among the 155 townhouse units, 54 units are designed with a 2-car garage, and 104 are designed with 1-car garage. The applicants propose 7 architectural modules So on the screen, you can see the two modules, the Regents and Lafayette model. Next slide, please. And this slide showing the module of the Kailot. And next slide, please. And these modules, this slide showing the Pataxian and Magassi modules. So this slide showing the proposed townhouse modules very in-depth and offer a variety of front elevations options. And each elevation is designed with a mixture of materials in different colors, textures, and also architectural elements. Next slide, please. To sum up this presentation, Urban Design staff recommended that the planning board adopt the finding of this report and approve the detailed site plan DET-2023-003 and type 2 tree conservation plan TCP2-003-2025 for Michael's Retreat, subject to the recommended condition of the approval within the technical staff report. The revisions proposed by the applicants agreed upon by the staff in the applicant's Exhibit 1. And this concludes staff presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. Questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll turn to the applicants. Mr. Hatcher.
Here you go. It's not comfortable not talking.
In person.
You know?
It's before 6 o'clock.
For the record, my name is Chris Hatcher, an attorney with CL Hatcher, a law firm with offices in Laurel, here on behalf of the applicant, Aegis Holding Company, LLC. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of your staff, from the director to Emory to your council. This is an interesting case in the new ordinance. It presented a lot of unique situations, and everybody was able to, while following all the rules and guidelines, come up with solutions that really made sense to go to what the intent of that ordinance was be. So really appreciate the hard work that everybody was able to do here. In addition, would like to thank the Lakewood community. As you can see from the exhibit, directly across the street, you can see a subdivision of single-family homes. We have been in consistent communication with them the entire time, pre-preliminary plan of subdivision. I believe they are going to speak here in support, or at least their HOA president. But to be clear, during the last hearing, the preliminary plan, the applicant made a commitment to work with all owners, all stake owners on issues real or fictitious. They had some pretty real issues, and we worked with them. And I mean, they can certainly speak for themselves, but we feel pretty good about where that landed. So, kind of pretty candid. The reason why we continued the case last week is because we received an immense amount of information shortly before the hearing, and we thought it might make sense, even though I think it has no relevance to this proceeding, which we stated at the time of preliminary plan, which I believe staff stated at the time of preliminary plan, and I think the planning board opined about, but did not make a determination at the time of preliminary plan about property rights and who has the jurisdiction to say what when. We held firm there that that is a matter for the judiciary at the Circuit Court of Prince George's County. We hold fast to our opinion that that is the case, that is the appropriate place to adjudicate these types of issues. But in the spirit of attempting to respond to what we think they're going to say, because it wasn't really clear in the documents that were submitted, and we just might as well show you some experts, let you hear from them. That being said, after reading that, we came to three conclusions. One, there's nothing new here. There's nothing novel here. This is the same material they submitted at the time of preliminary plan. This board has already opined on it. We've already opined on it. Staff already opined on it. We said we would coordinate with everybody. We continue to coordinate with everybody. We coordinated with the community. I don't, inherent in the idea of coordinating with somebody, which wasn't apparent to me then, but it's very apparent to me now, is that you can only extend a hand or an email or a phone call. Somebody's got to take that hand or pick up that call or respond to that email on the other side. That's the case here. I don't know how to work with somebody that won't talk to me. I don't know how to do it. If somebody has an idea how to do it, please let me know, because I don't know how to do it. Second issue. After reviewing the materials, this applicant, this lawyer for the applicant, is struggling to figure out where a credible claim is. We reviewed the deeds. I reviewed the red markings on the deeds. Red markings say right of way, but the deeds don't say that. All the deeds say roadway. Roadway as a descriptor for the overall property. The only document that has any aroma of county supports, county, a stamp, is a completely self-serving permit that Mr. Carpenter submitted to extend his garage, where it references a right-of-way, and it has a building permit stamp on it. It's in the record. We didn't have to submit any materials because on the materials that they submitted on the face, doesn't seem credible to us. That being said, I'd like to call Garrett Culler. Okay.
Mr. Keller, if you could raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, consider yourself under oath.
What's your name and address for the record?
Garrett Culler, 2 Research Place, Suite 100 in Rockville, Maryland.
Where are you employed?
Soltez Incorporated, but Soltez out of Rockville.
There you go. What is your role with your employer?
I am the Director of Surveys in the Rockville office.
How long have you been a licensed surveyor?
I obtained my license in 2019.
Did Soltez provide surveying service in association with this property?
Did, yes.
Did you discover any encumbrances while providing surveying services on the property while you were that would constitute a right-of-way?
No.
In your experience, how are public right-of-ways created?
They can be created by easement, document, a deed. It can also be put on a plat as a dedication. And you can also, it was mentioned earlier, it can be a prescriptive type right-of-way, long use.
In your review of these materials, did you see any indication of any of those creations in those documents?
No. Of the documents that were received and reviewed, no, did not.
So you have had an opportunity to review those materials?
I did, yes.
In your experience, do deeds in the materials create a right-of-way as suggested by the opposition's material?
No.
In your experience, what do you believe the references to the roadways mean in the deeds?
It's actually a controlling call for the boundary line of the property that's being created in those deeds, not the property next door.
No questions for the surveyor for the company that created the survey. I'd like to call Barry.
Do we examine now? So just so the record's clear, have you ever been certified by a court as being an expert?
No, I have not.
You're only proffering as a fact witness.
Oh, as a fact witness? So then his opinion as to what he found should not be included, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you said that you didn't see any documents with regards to the right-of-way, but it's correct, isn't it, that prescriptive easement is not one that would be documented?
Yes, in a sense, what you're saying is correct.
Okay. No,
that's an unwritten right.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Did
you take a look at any cross? May I ask some follow-up questions?
Oh, sure.
Did you take a look at any aerials?
Yes,
Over what time period?
All the way back. I believe it's 1939.
And in your review of all the aerials, did you see any road there?
No evidence of a roadway or anything really on that side of the property.
Even to today?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To call Barry Redrucks.
Two.
Yes, sir. I need to swear you in. If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yourself under oath?
What's your name and address for the record?
Barry DeRoche, 148 Cardamon Drive, Edgewater, Maryland.
Do you have any formal education?
Yeah, I have a undergraduate degree in marketing, master's degree in finance.
Do you have any licenses issued by the state of Maryland?
Yeah, I'm a licensed title insurance producer, which I've been since 1993, so for 22 years.
Title insurance? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, licensed title insurance provider. That's because we use an insurance product. That's how the state license people that do title.
Thank you.
Are you part of any professional organizations or associations?
MLTA, ALTA, or just the American Land, Maryland Land Title Associations.
Yeah, you're using a lot. I'm not I have no idea what they missed. How long have you been in the title insurance business?
23 years.
Where are you employed?
Eagle Title.
What is your role with Eagle Title?
Director of Builder Services.
Can you describe the process you generally engage in as part of providing title insurance?
I'll use this type of transaction because it varies. It's land, and this was a land transaction. It was also a foreclosure. So we have to review comprehensively the title. We're reviewing first off the foreclosure file to make sure all the proper notices were given to anybody who may have been owed money that could pop up from the past and make a claim. And then beyond that, because it is land, and I'm dealing with good customers, I take a very comprehensive look. Going back, we get a report from an abstractor who does a title search for us, and then I will review or underwrite that file. And what I'll do is I'll take everything the abstractor gave me and I'll dig deeper. In this type of case, I'll look at aerial views of the property. I'll also look at every deed that has fed the chain up until the current deed. I'm always looking for something that could be wrong, like there were 2 owners previously and only one showed up to convey the title. And we're basically looking for anything that we think could be a problem now or in the future.
And you said you would describe the process that you did in general for this property. That is the process you engaged in for this property?
Yes.
What did you find when you engaged in that process for this property?
Okay, it was originally owned by a Prince George's County family that owned considerable amount of property in the county over the years. It had transferred through estates, and starting off in 1959, 1960, two-acre conveyances were made off of a considerably larger piece of property. And from there, and they were the only real 2 conveyances made for quite some time. They still own, they were made from, although there was a huge piece of property, there were separate parcels. These 2 conveyances were made out of one parcel that, as you look at the property, the 2-acre lots took up the majority of the frontage on what is now Accokeek Road. I think it's referred to as like Maryland Road 373. And in order to maintain access to the remaining 8 acres, which would have been landlocked, a driveway was set up to access the property. And then I looked at further conveyances over the course of years. Both the property ended up in estates. It was split between heirs. It was later united so it could be sold. 2 different couples purchased it in the early 80s. And it was later transferred to a partnership that got sold to a developer. And eventually the same developer also acquired one of the two-acre lots. If you're looking at the picture, there would have been the one that was on the left, so to speak, that you can see the street there. And from there, they did, under the county code, I assume, because it's got a code reference in it, that's not my strong suit, but they assembled all the property. They did what's called a lot line adjustment deed. And that's how we arrived at where we are today.
So based on your findings and the historic review of the property as required, and as you typically do when you're trying to assess whether you're going to provide insurance for the property, did you provide title insurance for this property?
Yeah, this was an insured transaction.
What are exceptions in a title insurance policy?
So there are things that if something pops up, you're not going to provide coverage on. Things like utility easements. If there's a SMECO or BGE or Pepco, if they have a pole there, they've gotten an agreement to place the pole there. So we'll take exception to that agreement so somebody can't come back and say, hey, what's that doing on my property? If there was an easement across the property, we'll take exception to that. Various and sundry different things.
Did the title insurance policy that you provided provide for any exceptions for the reference roadway that's this topic of this?
No, I don't believe that there was anything to take exception to.
Any questions?
Thank you. Questions? All right, Mr. Hatcher, other things you have?
Oh, I got one more guy.
Okay.
You know, you heard from the land surveyor who did it. You heard from the title provider who provided title insurance. I'd like to call John Dowling up.
Ms. Dowling, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, consider yourself under oath, sir.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
John Dowling, 77 Franklin Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Do you have any formal education?
Yes, I do. I have a Bachelor of Arts and a Juris Doctorate.
Do you have any professional licensures in the state of Maryland?
I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Maryland. I've been licensed since 1980.
With your Juris Doctor?
I've been a member of the bar since 1978.
Are you a member of any associations in the state?
Yes, I am a member of the Maryland State Bar Association, the Maryland Society of Surveyors, the American Society of Civil Engineers.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert in the expert witness in the fields of land surveying and title to real property?
Yes, I have.
In what jurisdictions? You might need to read this. It's pretty long.
I've qualified as an expert witness in the field of land surveying and title to real property, the Circuit Court of Allegheny County, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Calvert County, Carroll County, Charles County, Dorchester County, Garrett County, Howard County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Queen Anne's County.
It could have been easier for you to say, well, you aren't in the state of Maryland.
I'm a little more than halfway, and I'm running out of time.
I'm trying to get you qualified here right now. I think I might have like one or two more questions.
I think he said he was qualified in Prince George's.
Prince George's County Circuit Court.
I've never been before this august body in my life.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Chair, at this point, I respectfully request that Mr. John Dowling be qualified as an expert in the fields of land planning and surveying and title to real property.
We can recognize him as an expert witness. We actually are just formalizing that process internally. So I'm not even sure, Mr. Warner, are we stepping too far ahead of ourselves if we grant him expert status?
No, you can do that now as you.
So then what do we do about the next person who comes before us?
If they do
Any credentials?
lay out the same credentials for you and you feel satisfied that they have the expert, you can
Without objection, colleagues, we can grant Mr. Dowling expert status.
No objection.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where are you currently employed?
I'm self-employed as an attorney and I self-employed or I have an LLC and I practice as a land surveyor. I'm the managing member.
Okay. So in that role, can you describe what you do in that role?
Well, at this point in my career, I'm still surveying. I still actually go out in the field. And I'm searching titles. I'm not representing anybody in court anymore, but I'll testify because most surveyors would rather have a root canal without Novocaine than go to court. But I mean, that's the honest to God truth. But I've been there and I know how it works. So, and the fact that I'm just a solo practitioner, a lot of times a surveyor in a larger firm, the powers that be don't want him sitting all day in circuit court.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Dowling?
Sure.
How often do you come before planning boards?
I've been before the planning board of Anne Arundel County and I've been planning board for Baltimore County. Not often, because a lot of times it's not really a question of title.
Thank you.
Well,
Oh, can you repeat that? That last thing you said.
I mean, often questions of title do not come up before a planning board.
Did you hear the testimony from the surveyor that provides service on this property?
Yes, I did.
Did you take issue with the assertions contained within that testimony?
No, I did not.
Have you viewed the materials submitted into the record by the opposition?
Yes, I have.
As an expert in the field of land planning, surveying, titling, and title to real property, do you believe a right-of-way has been or was created by the documents submitted into the record?
No.
As an expert in the field of land planning, surveying, and title to real property, that's something we need to come up with an abbreviation for. Do you think a roadway was created by any of the documents submitted into the record?
No.
Would you have any issue not providing, would you have an issue providing title insurance for this property?
No, I would not.
What is the most appropriate place for this type of issue to be adjudicated?
Well, if it's a dispute over real property, the appropriate venue is circuit court.
I have no additional questions for this expert witness.
Sorry, sir.
Excused?
Mr. Dowling, keep going. My apologies. I have to catch the last thing you said.
Oh, it was pretty good. Appropriate place for this type of issue to be adjudicated.
Circuit court.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Hatcher, back to you.
To be that cool one day. Oh my God. Impressive guy.
Indeed.
With that, the applicant has reviewed the staff report and submitted an exhibit into the record with some proposed revisions. I believe you heard staff say that they've reviewed it and were comfortable with it. And at this point, the applicant respectfully requests that the planning board adopt the findings of facts and conclusions of law contained in the staff report as amended by the applicant's exhibit and approve DET 2023-003. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Hatcher, colleagues, at this point?
I didn't see driveway stations.
I missed it.
I missed it too. Okay, two. Okay. Make sure.
Did I get it right? Was it two, Mr. Wong?
Yeah.
Okay.
You all
I was
snicked.
late.
Paying attention.
Always.
Uh-huh.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hatcher. Okay, we will now go to the opposition. Mr. Giel, you're representing the opposition on this, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So we don't need to swear him in?
Right, not as an attorney.
Not as the attorney. And Mr. Giel, if you could just talk to us a little bit about how you want to handle this. Are there other folks going to be speaking as well? Actually, before I do that, there were a few folks on the list who were signed up as other, and I want to know if they're in support or opposition or undeclared. Is there a Marlene Savage with Lakeview at Brandywine HOA? Oh, Ms. Savage, okay. Would you like to, are you in opposition, support, or undeclared? You want to come forward now, please? If you want to come and speak. Please. In addition to Ms. Savage, I have a Michelle Owen Stith. Not here. Okay. Are you aware, Mr. Hatcher or Ms. Savage, anyone else who's looking to speak in support? Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Savage, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
You are under oath. If you could introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm Marlene Savage. I live at 7306 Chickamunks Court, and I'm the president of the HOA for Lakeview at Brandywine.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm in total support of the Michael's Retreat coming across the street. We had 3 concerns, and one of the concerns has been addressed today of the schools, and we found out. Anthony told me that they were building the school, but I needed to know it for myself. So the only other concerns that we have is the traffic and the road and the crime that's going on out there, but that's not their issue. That was going on before Anthony and them came on. I think it's going to be an improvement to that corner because Anthony and I have been picking up trash for the last year or so since they've been out there. I pick up trash every day, and that's how I met the developer. So I'm in total support because it has stayed clean over there. And it's an addition to our community, and it's a lot of development coming up and down that road. But this will be an addition because it's right across the street from our property, and our homes run. We just sold a house in one day for $880,000. So it's a really nice community, and I think this will be quite an addition to the community and to the area. Anything's better than, we don't want a commercial site over there, but the house do.
I didn't hear you.
We don't want to have a commercial site like stores or like a little strip mall. We have enough of that going on up the street. So that's, I'm in total support. And so there are 250 houses in my community, and we are in total support. And they'll be a lot happy when I tell them that I found out that they are building a Brandywine school that'll house 1,544 kids. So I hope you all approve it because I think it would be quite an addition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated. Thanks for your patience today. I neglected to, and Mr. Giraldo reminded me, I neglected to give the opposition the opportunity to cross the applicants. Mr. Gill, do you want to do that before you speak? Do you want to do cross before you take up the case, or
honestly, there are a lot of procedural irregularities at the moment, and yeah, so we did not have the opportunity to cross. I don't have a transcript of what they said. I had some thoughts in mind as to what I could have asked them, but I think it might be just more effective if we were given the opportunity to bring Mr. Gaskins forward and speak in his own capacity and the actions in which he went about surveying the properties. Previously, we were planning to present I would have my 3-minute testimony, he would have a 3-minute testimony, and he wasn't going to speak as to the surveying review that he had done because I was going to do so. He was going to instead present a method to resolve the issue, essentially. So I think probably the best thing for me to do is to simply call him forward and have him speak as to his own qualifications, ask him some questions, and then I present my prepared statements, and he presents his prepared statements.
We can certainly do that, Mr. Gill. I'm also, if you want to gather your thoughts in a minute, if you have specific questions on a rebuttal, from the expert witness and the other 2 folks who testified, I'm more than happy to do that.
I would be happy to engage in it, but the way that it seemed to be going, I didn't think I was going to have the ability to cross-examine. So I didn't write down the specific questions that they had. I could certainly ask them their opinions as to what certain words mean, but I think this is going to just be a matter of the planning board listening to the comparing testimonies and determining. And proffer, I agree with you. There is a serious question to be had as to whether or not you should even consider any of our discussions here, mine or the legal positions put forward by their witnesses. But to the extent that you do, I think that it will probably just be easier to have Mr. Gaskins speak.
Okay, thank you. And just to be mindful of the time, the applicant spoke for approximately a half hour, so you don't have just 3 minutes. If you need a bit more time, you certainly don't need to take up to all the half hour, but you have up to that if you choose to.
I will not take up to a half hour.
Okay, all right.
I can present my prepared statements first. I think it's probably better just for me to call Mr. Gaskins.
All right, please call Mr. Gaskins and we'll swear him in.
And I'm not sure actually if Mr. Gaskins has a video associated with his call-in or not.
Yes,
because we're not in the same room. Okay, so Steve, if you could put your camera on, just so people can see your face.
Okay, and
Yes,
in addition,
my camera is on.
Mr. Gaskins, in addition to that, and Mr. Giel, just hold on. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anybody else who's going to be speaking for or against or undeclared, virtually or in the room. We're good? Okay. All right, so then, Mr. Giel, you can manage the process. If you're turning it over to Mr. Gaskins, I can swear you in, sir.
Yes.
Okay, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Okay, consider yourself under oath. Name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
Yes,
Mr.
my name is
Gaskins.
Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's presenting his name first. I'm sorry. It's weird whenever we're remote. Please, sorry, Steve.
Yes, my name is Stephen C. Gaskins. I am the managing member of ABC Land Surveying. I'm a sole practitioner and surveyor, and I still survey now. I'm out in the field as we speak because times were changed on this particular hearing.
Mr. Gaskins, could you please describe your professional qualifications, starting with your educational background?
Yes, I've taken many years of Maryland Society of Surveyor classes and courses. I qualified to take my exam in 1989. I've been licensed since 1990. I've done a lot of surveys, and I've also been accepted as an expert in many courts, include administrative court against other surveyors in the state of Maryland.
Well, we're going to get to that question next. But first, can you describe any specific degrees that you have or names of specific certificates that you have?
Yeah, the different certificates, they all listed on my resume. I didn't know I had to do that today. I thought I had 3 minutes to speak. I didn't know I was going to be rebutting other professional experts, but I have never seen a title report that they have provided because they didn't provide any written evidence that.
Please limit your answer to my question. We'll get to that in a moment. But could you please describe your educational history? Specifically, any degrees that you have, any certificates that you've received?
Yes, I have a high school diploma, and I got my license based off of more than 12 years of experience at the state. The board has licensed me in 1990. So, and I've been doing this over 48 years, and it's almost 50 years of experience in this profession.
And where have you been previously qualified as an expert witness? An exhaustive list is not necessary, just whatever you can remember, because I am aware you didn't have the preparation for this.
Yes, the most important is Prince George's County Circuit Court, Prince George's County District Court, and also the Planning Board.
And when was the last time you were qualified before the Planning Board?
I was qualified some years ago in another matter involving some other things that were involved in the Planning Board, but not here recently.
At this time, I would move Mr. Gaskins as an expert in surveying.
All right, colleagues, without objection, do we grant him expert status witness in surveying? Yes,
I'm satisfied.
Commissioner Washington, concerns?
Yes.
Yes, as to concerns, or yes, as to approval?
I think
didn't
yes,
hear that.
yes, as to concerns around qualifications as a surveyor.
Yeah, just on balance, comparatively speaking.
I would, for what it's worth, I would say that even if one has more expertise, then another can still be granted expert status.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a relevant thing. We may take that into account, though.
Right.
All right, so if there's no objection to it, or we can vote if you want, I'm fine either way.
No.
Okay, then we'll grant you expert status in surveying.
All right. Broadly speaking, what did you find when you were reviewing the history of these properties, sir?
What I found is that this road or 60-foot roadway or right-of-way, as some has called out, that they were established by two different deeds by the original owner of the land, Laura Burrows, and she established them in 1959 and 1960, and it was never abolished or vacated.
And what does roadway mean in the deeds you reviewed?
Roadway means the same thing as if you are traveling down the roadway of Accokeek Road. We don't include roadways in our subdivision because they have a right of way for the public.
Do you consider roadway to be synonymous with right of way when you're reviewing title deeds?
Yes, roadways and right of ways are particularly the same thing. This was established some years ago, 1959 and 1960 is a long time ago.
Is this the first time you've reviewed a matter involving a right-of-way dispute that used the word roadway?
Yes. No, this is not the first time. I've done it in many other counties, Charles County, and testified in circuit court concerning these same matters.
Oh, so in your testimony in circuit courts considering those matters, what were the findings with regards to the definition of roadway versus right-of-way?
Well, the different.
Well, I object to that question. That's an amazing question.
Mr. Hatton, if you have an objection, you can object, but please.
Sorry.
What's the objection?
The objection is that I'm not entirely sure the basis of the question, given the questions that have been asked. A, foundational. B, he's about to reference what a court said, as opposed to what his expert experience is. He can just submit the findings of what the court said.
Court can speak for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. You have an opinion on this? I'm not quite tracking.
Right. Well, we have a flexible approach to hearsay, and we do accept it, even if it's not relevant. So in this case, if he's claiming he's got some hearsay, you can accept it, but you may not give it any credence.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
I would note on my part, even if you were to sustain or overrule the objection, first and foremost, I think the basis for the definition is generally established by what I previously asked him and by the previous questions asked by Mr. Hatcher, and whether or not his witnesses believe that roadway versus right-of-way were different or synonymous terms. And second, with regards to hearsay, I would not categorize the determination of a court as being hearsay. It's a statement of the court. It's the same sort of thing as if a person had a sworn testimony. That you wouldn't refer to sworn testimonies hearsay, even if that declarant weren't in that area. I am aware, of course, that Mr. Gaskins is being asked to summarize testimony and the effects of that testimony in previous cases, and we can arrange to have those cases to you. Our exhibits were submitted last Tuesday in accordance with the planning board guidelines, and we of course did not expect to have to call him as a witness in a circumstance like this. But if it helps the board and to make a determination, we can arrange to get transcripts or rulings accordingly subsequent to this proceeding.
Please, I'm going to overrule the objection. Just please continue.
To re-ask the question, sir, what were the general findings in these cases whenever roadway versus right-of-way were discussed?
Well, in that particular case, they had a General Smallwood. He created a road to go to his church, and it was called Smallwood Church Road. And they determined in the court that it became a private road, so therefore it didn't matter as a public road, when it was always considered since the 1700s as a public road.
Were there any other circumstances where there was a court determination as to the definition of roadway versus right-of-way?
Not that I was involved in, but there's a process in Prince George's County. If you want to do away with a roadway, you have to vacate it. They have a vacation process. And that wasn't done here.
Sorry, excuse me. So you were about to say, was such a process undertaken in this case?
No, the vacation process was not undertaken here. That's why we have a dispute. It's not a dispute of ownership, or it's not a dispute of easement. It's a dispute of splitting the right-of-way between two parties. So the Smith, they own one half, and if you abandon it or do away with it, and Carpenter owns the other half. So 30 foot of the right-of-way is supposed to be vacated, and then one half goes to one and one half goes to other, because I've done many vacation petitions in my career.
You previously described the process of reviewing the history of these properties as, and I'm summarizing somewhat, reviewing the initial deeds just conveyed by Laura Burrows to her not predecessors, successors in interest. My apologies, successors. Did you look at any other documents after 1960?
Yes, I looked at plenty of documents after 1960, but what's very important about the 1960 deeds is she established that right away. She was the predecessor of all the people who have owned that. And Mr. Carpenter actually knew her daughter that talked about the same thing, and her name is on the survey that he had when he got his permit.
What you said you reviewed planning documents. Could you describe those planning documents?
Yes, I reviewed the rezoning of this property that was done in, I think, 2006. Can't remember the exact date, but there was a plan on the last page, I think page 163, that showed the right-of-way. All of a sudden, the right-of-way just disappeared.
Did you review any tax maps associated with these properties?
Yes, I had a 1992 tax map that I reviewed, and it showed the 60-foot right-of-way or roadway on that particular tax map, and some others that's going forward. But now it's no longer exists on there without any re-subdivision.
Did you did you submit all of the documents that you had found via our office to the planning board?
Yes, I did submit them, and there's been some confusion. I submitted this at the preliminary plan of subdivision.
To be clear, I'm asking if we submitted them during this hearing, sir.
Yes, we submitted them, but all of them are not, just a point of order, they're not all in the record because there's a mistake on one of my exhibits that wasn't submitted.
Are you talking about the exhibits you submitted as AB versus 1, 2, 3?
No, yes, the AB, one of the exhibits A1 is not in the record because it was never scanned and submitted into the record, but I did email.
I'm sure you'll also have your 3 minutes for your prepared statements per our conversations with the board chair. But this is in reference to exhibits 1 through 3. Are you aware that this office submitted exhibits 1, 2, and 3 to the board?
Correct, because I prepared those exhibits. Yes.
Okay. And do those exhibits constitute the findings in the documents that you had acquired whenever you were reviewing this development?
Yes.
Have you reviewed any title report or title insurance associated with these properties?
No, none was provided by the other side as a written evidence submitted for the record in the preliminary plan or in this case at all. Just testimony I've heard for the first time today.
My apologies.
I'm just pausing because I hear some echoing from, I think,
We had a technical error with some coffee in history, Neil. Somebody just spilled something within the dais, so you're fine. Keep going.
All right. Was Mr. Gaskin's previous answer captured properly?
You could have him repeat it.
Sure. Could you please repeat your previous answer, sir?
I'm getting an echo in the sound.
Yeah, we're both getting an echo at the moment.
You guys mute.
Well, no title report was ever submitted by the applicant to us for me to review, with the exceptions. And as far as I'm concerned, there was no written evidence put into the record in this case or the other case.
Developer's witness described landlocking of Linda Burrows' own property, and that's presumably why she created the roadway. Did you hear that testimony?
Yes, I heard that testimony. I think it's incorrect.
Do you believe that there would be any sort of similar occurrence for landlocking that would affect Mr. Carpenter's property if this right of way were extinguished?
If this right of way was extinguished, they still have right of way along the other portions. They have 1, 2, 3 entrances that they have proposed in this preliminary plan, and also the detailed site plan.
I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat my question. If this right of way were extinguished by this PPS, how would that affect Mr. Carpenter's access to his property?
Well, he wouldn't be able to develop his property unless he get access through their property in the rear, because the state is not going to allow 4 entrances plus another one coming from the development across the street.
Why would the state not allow that?
Because there's too many in a row. I mean, it would cause a lot of confusion after they did all the roundabout improvements and all the traffic that comes in and out of Acquia Road to Route 5.
Do you have any other general commentary regarding what you heard from the developer's witnesses?
In regards to the developer's witnesses, I can't see why they didn't see established in the deed. It calls for the same owner who established on both sides, the Smith property side, Charles Smith to be specific, and also the Carpenter side. It was established in both of those deeds as being a 60-foot roadway. It's very clear, and I don't see how they can skip over the words 60 foot, being wide, the width, and roadway. Everybody knows what a road is. If I went and claimed Acquia Road, they'll have me arrested, because that is a public right of way and a public roadway.
Did you see any physical characteristics associated with this roadway when you went to survey the properties?
Yes, the characteristics when I surveyed it is I noticed that the corners that were cited on the particular deeds were in the field. And I surveyed them and located them. So it was established by a surveyor.
And to capstone this, as an expert in the field of surveying, do you believe that a right-of-way was created in these deeds?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. I have no additional questions.
All right.
We'll wait to see if the board has any questions or.
Questions, colleagues, and I think Mr. Hatcher may want some cross. I'm gonna step outside the process a bit, and I'm gonna have a question for you, Mr. Hatcher, and for you, Mr. Giel, okay? Around process. Would it be safe to say, and if the answer is no, then the answer is no. Would it be safe to say that both of you are using us to build a case for what may happen in the circuit court?
I don't know who you want to answer first.
It doesn't matter. Okay, I just want to be clear. I want to be clear that if what you imagine is going to come through this process is that we are going to be making a determination around the validity of this easement claim.
Okay. I'll speak on this because obviously if there were to be a case brought, it would be a case brought by us to them. No, I am not looking for that. The reason we're here before the planning board is because of a century or more of court precedent requiring a person like myself to be present at all stages and make my arguments at all times before all boards, even if those boards don't consider them, because there's an argument to be had later on during appeal that if I don't do so, then I might have waived my argument, if that were to come to pass. But I don't believe that a court would take any testimony that is here and use that as some sort of probative evidence that something was or was not there. And if there were a declaratory judgment action filed between the parties, then we would simply be bringing our own experts before the circuit court. What this board determines isn't going to be relevant to that. We're here for the purposes of preservation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gill. Mr. Hatcher, any thoughts on that?
We are here purely to make clear to the board that we are in an administrative proceeding and the information was included in the record that aren't relevant to the administrative proceeding. And we didn't want to go through the administrative process without it being addressed in some form or fashion. Failure to exhaust administrative remedies, in my experience, is really more of an administrative proceeding thing, not necessarily a a deck action or a title thing, which they could do independently, could have done a year ago after the preliminary plan, could do tomorrow, could have done 5.
Wait, but don't argue the case. If you could sort of stick with it,
No, we don't expect. And if the board makes the determination that this isn't relevant, we agree with you.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Thank you both for indulging me, and Mr. Giel, it's back to you. If you have colleagues, any other questions for Mr. Not Mr. Gaskins. Who do we have?
Mr. Gill?
It would be Mr. Gaskins because he's still on the stand.
All right, Mr. Gaskins, any other questions for Mr. Gaskins for my colleagues? No, Mr. Hatcher, would you have any cross for the expert witness?
Just a few. What I thought I heard their experts say is that without this right of way, they wouldn't be able to develop their property or access their property. Is that accurate?
Mr. Gaskins,
you're being asked if that was accurate, that you said that.
Yes, I said that because the state will not allow us to do it.
He asked you the question. He'll ask you a follow-up and cross, sir.
Okay, so
He's just asking if that's what you testified to.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does Mr. Carpenter's property have a roadway onto it right now? Can you
Yes,
see what's
it
on the
does.
monitor?
Yes, it does have a roadway right now, but not for development.
I'm at a loss, so I have no more questions on that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Giel, do you have other things that you want to present to us?
Well, again, most of my testimony has largely been covered by Mr. Gaskins' expert testimony. So I don't think that I need to belabor the point too much. I would say that, in 2007, Mr. Carpenter's father conveyed this property to him. It described the right of way like previous instruments. And the county has made previous determinations in tax maps and previous plans and rezonings as to the existence of this, whatever if we want to get semantic about it, roadway versus right of way. To me, they're the same thing. And I understand that obviously somebody else might argue that they're not, but I look at something that's written into a document as being a roadway that's synonymous to me with a right of way. The deeds showed it, the subsequent deeds showed it, Prince George's County showed it, and then it disappeared in 2008. And we believe that the section of this development, particularly the townhomes marked 18 through 33, are encroaching on that right of way. There is no instrument that has conveyed that interest from Mr. Carpenter to the developer. And I will note candidly that Mr. Carpenter is more than open to such discussions between him and the developer. The developer believes that there was no hand reaching back to him. Our client's position is that nobody has made any effort to reach out to him. So maybe this is an earnest miscommunication, and I am more than happy to get on the phone with Mr. Hatcher subsequent to this and try to work out the issue. It hasn't occurred yet, but we are happy to resolve this. We do not have any arguments as to any other sort of zoning errors that occurred here, anything with regards to the forest conservation plan, any other, basically anything else. Our interest here is in ensuring that Mr. Carpenter's interests in his land are protected. In the current state, we do not believe that the PPS can be approved any more than a PPS could be approved if a contemplated building if a contemplated development was building houses on top of a public county road or into the driveway of an adjacent homeowner. The right-of-way here was established over 60 years ago, and the submitted documents clearly and unequivocally establish that right. So we believe that the planning board should possibly do a variety of things, and I would present that to you for consideration. One, the planning board might determine that this is outside the scope of its purview entirely and just say that it's not going to consider that. It could do so. Alternatively, the planning board could suspend the application until such time as it was resubmitted with a new design that does not encroach on that right of way. Or it could resubmit, it could suspend until the developer has acquired all 3 parcels, which Mr. Gaskins will speak about in prepared statements. And if the planning board does approve the PPS at this time, it could do so on the condition that the property disputes between the applicant and Mr. Carpenter be resolved, either privately or through the court system before the development proceeds. And I thank you for the laxity of procedure here. I appreciate that you guys are trying to work out something that allows us all to talk about this. So that concludes my statements.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Just for the record, I just want to make sure you're talking about the detailed site plan, not the preliminary plan.
I'm sorry. Did I
Yeah,
say
no, it's fine.
yes,
I just want to make sure the
detailed site plan.
record's clear. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the detailed site plan, not a PPS. I just realized now what I had said myself, the detailed site plan.
Yeah, that's not a
Sorry.
problem. That's not a problem. Okay, all right. So if there's no other cross to the expert, you've concluded your testimony. We'll turn to, if you have any final rebuttal or close, if you choose to, or you're done.
Well,
and we'll give Mr. Hatcher the final word.
I'm sorry to interrupt there. I didn't mean to cut you off. Before this all occurred, before we went and did this ad hoc presentation, my expectation was that I was going to speak for 3 minutes and Mr. Gaskins was going to speak for 3 minutes. He has a presentation with submitted exhibits that he's previously emailed. We had some issues with that, with just the record keeping, but Ms. Jones should be able to resolve that and let the board review it if it is not presently attached. But he has some statements that he would like to make with regards to proposed alternatives to this development and incorporations of Mr. Carpenter's parcel, as it were. So those 3 minutes I would consider to be outside the scope of expert testimony, that as I have qualified him, and basically him just speaking as to what he has done independently. But I do have those 3 minutes for him, and I don't think I need a closing statement. I think our position speaks for itself.
Thank you. Mr. Gill, we can make the distinction between what he's testifying as an expert witness and what he's testifying about as an interested party. Just to be clear, and staff has confirmed this, all the information that you have submitted to us is in the record. We have access to that. But again, the time is yours. And if you want Mr. Gaskins to speak for 3 minutes and to sort of introduce that verbally, and you want to do the same thing, it's fine by us, whatever you choose to do.
Steve, if you could just go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, my presentation was surrounding the exhibits. I submitted 4 exhibits. One of them didn't make it into the record. That was Exhibit A1 that was submitted that coincide with the development of this detailed site plan.
Mr. Gaskins,
we think that they were in.
It's in the record. It's in the record.
No, it's not in the record. I've checked it.
Okay.
That particular exhibit is not there.
If it isn't, then I think that we can agree that we'll try to resolve that issue and we'll look at that. But it's 5:30, so I just want to.
Okay.
I want us, and I know the board wants us to speak to the substantive matter.
Okay. All right. The other matter is junior and senior rights as far as the roadway when it was created by deed by the original property owner, Laura Barrows, was not abandoned or vacated. The next point that I want to make is we believe that SHA will not desire 5 entrances to be placed in the same area after the spur road. Number 6, I have, if this board and the applicant will not allow us, Mr. Carpenter, to use the granted 60-foot right-of-way by Laura Burrows, then that's covered. We will formally request access to the rear of Mr. Carpenter's property for a roadway entrance cut-in for utilities and connection for the benefit of Mr. Carpenter and his heirs or signs, because he probably will be denied. We formally request that the planning board approve this access or have a notation in their findings or the conditions that Mr. Carpenter will not be landlocked in order to do that. He has one driveway for one house right now. The mistake that was made in not rezoning Mr. Carpenter's property, this has caused a lot of problems. He's RR surrounded by townhouse development, quite a few townhouse developments. We're now happy that the planning board has resumed in person attendance again, because many residents have spoken in opposition to this to us, but did not know how to make their voices heard to the planning board. 28 townhouses will be built on the 60-foot roadway, this right of way, which is 60-foot wide, has never formally been abandoned or vacated. I would like to review the report, the title report that Mr. Hatcher spoke of, with the exceptions, so I can make some kind of determination on whether it's valid or not. Thank you. That concludes my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaskins, appreciate it. Mr. Gill, anything more from you? Did we lose you, Mr. Gill? Oh, hold on, you're coming back.
Mr. Gaskin.
We can't hear you. We actually can't see you. We just have your camera's off. Let's give him a minute, work through the technology.
I didn't see him.
I see his
He went to dinner.
see his initials.
There's someplace.
Did Gigi?
Don't see it.
Okay, got it.
Oh, he's got his camera up.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss what you just asked me? Can you please repeat?
Yeah, we're back to you. For any final words or close.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I as I said, I don't think I need any closing statements. I think our position has been fully stated, and I don't want to belabor the point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
I turn to Mr. Hatcher for the final word. Or words.
Very few, very few. What you heard was from us, the surveyor from the company, Soltez, that performed the surveying work, who testified before you that they didn't see any easements, they didn't see any dedication. You heard from the title insurance company, person who provided the title insurance, who reviewed the title, told you the process, told you what they looked for, and said, yeah, if something goes wrong here, we're gonna have to pay for that. I'll give you a policy on that. And you heard from the guy who appears in court in just about every jurisdiction, including this one, who looks at the survey people, who looks at the title people and says, they did it right, they did it wrong, and says, I got no problem with this. At this point, we respectfully request that the planning board approve this subject to the applicant's exhibit and the findings of fact and conclusions will all contained in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hatcher. Colleagues, any final questions, if there are, for Mr. Hatcher or not?
No, I mean, I just think it's obvious that there's a dispute as to whether right.
Let me ask this from a process perspective, because we won't want to close the hearing if there's no further questions, and then we can deliberate. So any other questions and we'll close this public hearing, and now, Mr. Commissioner Giraldo, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. We have two experts, and we're being asked to make a decision where we don't have the authority to make that decision. And we can approve it, and then something can happen afterwards. So the only way that I could really support it would be if there's a condition that they have before it's certified, that there's a decision as to who owns or whether or not a right-of-way exists. And that could only be done by circuit court.
And I don't disagree with what you just said, but I also, from my perspective, this came up during the preliminary planning process. If it were that much of an issue or concern for the opponent, why did they not pursue legal remedy at that time? So that's the first big problem I've got. I don't have an issue approving this, and quite frankly, I don't think it is in our purview, and let them deal with it in the courts.
And that's what I've said. Yep.
So the only question would be, do we have any kind of condition that says per clarification over the easement? I would have said that I was not inclined to do that. Now I'm a little bit less clear because there's so much data, there's so much information that's in the record.
And I guess I'm less inclined to do it because to me, that's establishing precedent for us as a body
Right.
that what we do is going to be contingent upon some legal determination.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm leaning that way as well, so. All right, so then if, what I'm
Yeah.
hearing the consensus is, yes.
I
Mr. Ward.
offer just some perspective on it. So when an applicant files a detailed site plan, they're required, and I just pulled it up here, they're required to show on that detailed site plan every existing right of way and easement. And they do that because they're going to be building whatever they're going to build on the property. And if there's an easement running across the middle of it, we're not going to approve, a building over the top of the sewer line, right? So they have to do that. And we accept every detailed site plan application, relying on what they say are the easements. And this is an unusual case where someone has come along and is claiming they have some type of right, maybe it's an easement, whatever it might be. Anybody could claim that. And we are not real estate lawyers.
Right.
And we don't have the capability to resolve that.
Right.
Now, it is possible that someone could come along and give us literally an easement document that shows they have an easement across the property that the applicant didn't know about. It shows up during our, and we're smart enough to be able to understand that, something that obvious. And then we could add a condition saying, okay, well, you need to resolve that issue. You can't build a townhouse over whatever it is. But in cases where there's evidence, even both ways, that you can't weigh, there's no way for you to really conclude there's an easement or not. So I don't think you can add a condition doing something like until you resolve this in the courts. I mean, that could be 8 years. That's outside of our jurisdiction.
Right.
So I'm only saying in cases where there was this clear and convincing evidence that an easement existed on someone's property, then you might consider a condition. But if the evidence is just kind of not something you can reach a conclusion on, then you really don't have a basis for a condition.
Respectfully, I disagree. And the reason I disagree is that there is evidence, compelling evidence on both sides. And so all we're saying, the only condition I want is that before they can go ahead with the development, that be determined by the court. Either the applicant files an application for a declaratory judgment, which will not take 8 years, or the person who's claiming the right of way. But I think for us to go forward and make a decision that this can go, even though there's a dispute.
As to decisions all the time that are then settled in court, where there are issues.
But that's
after we have approved it.
It's a different situation, though. This is one as to whether or not it can even go forward because of the issue with the right of way.
I understand, but again, I go back to we had the same similar conversation during preliminary plan of subdivision. Okay, if the opponent still has an issue, he had an issue then with the right of way. Why did he not pursue legal recourse at that time?
Well, the issue of the land, he
could have done that.
He could have, but there's no limitation on it other than if it's a situation where But
the process started at PPS, is my point.
I understand that it started at the PPS, but we don't know why they didn't do it. And even if they didn't do it under the law, there's still time for them to do it. And that's what.
And they should do it, but it has nothing to do with us and approving it.
I disagree.
So let me suggest that I really like us to reach consensus, but we might not always reach consensus.
Right.
Vice Chair Bell, you had something you wanted to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. So, I hear you loud and clear, Commissioner Geraldo. I disagree because I'm a little mindful of the precedent around that, but I don't. I get where you're coming from. So, colleagues, is there if there's any further deliberation, otherwise, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve DET-2023-003 and TCP2-003-2025 subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report and is further modified by applicant exhibit number 1.
Discussion, I'm going to second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second and under discussion. Vice Chair Bailey.
Well, after hearing the discussion, I think we could proceed with this and see what happens if it goes to court.
Okay, and that's where I am as well. Okay, further discussion?
Good.
Okay, I'll call the roll. The motion was made by Commissioner Washington, seconded by Vice Chair Bailey. No further discussion. Commissioner
I
Washington.
vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Geraldo.
Vote nay.
I vote aye. The ayes have it 3-1. Mr. Hatcher, thank you. Mr. Giel, the rest of the team, Mr. Gaskins, Mr. Dowling, all the other folks who testified, all the other folks who are hanging around because they like the show. Attorneys, everybody. Ms. Connor, any further business before us?
No further business.
Okay, with that objection, colleagues, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye, Jenna.